طيب. راح أعطيك أعطيك السكرين هلا دكتور رامي.
My remarks are only voice, so you could leave it whatever you want, and I'm just going to be speaking.
طيب ما في مشكلة، تفضل معناها دكتور رامي. أهلا وسهلا فيك وشكرا لحضورك والله يعطيك العافية.
الله يعافيك. Good afternoon everyone. طلبوا مني أحكي عن البروفيشناليزم. Is there a preference, guys? Should we speak in English or Arabic?
والله يعني اللي بتفضله دكتور، يعني عربي وإنجليزي، يعني إنه ما في مشكلة أكيد. على راحتك.
طيب. I prefer to speak in English, and this is part of the professionalism. I want everybody listening here coming right off the boat as they speak. They just came, they just arrived, and part of it you gotta have the mindset that you are now in the United States. You are not in Syria. You're not in any Arabic-speaking country, and part of professionalism is to be in that mindset. Secondly, this is important as you try to engage this society, try to engage everyone in this country. Don't be stuck in the mindset that you are coming from wherever you are. You're going to try to assimilate in this great society. This is a very welcoming country. Everybody is welcome, and your part is basically trying to live up to the standards of this country. I'm going to be talking about interviewing skills, and first of all, coming to the interview day, I'm going to speak a few things about the interview itself, and mostly I'm going to talk about communication skills related to your interview, or possibly trying to find yourself a foothold, for example, in research or externship or something to that effect. On the interview day, obviously everybody is going to dress well. Syrians generally are good dressers, so I don't have to worry about that. And however, I would say don't wear your wedding suit. You want to wear something that you would wear normally. You don't want to be overdressed. You don't want to be underdressed, obviously. And I'm not worried about that. This is usually not an issue. A second important point: always do your best to arrive on time. Always emergencies happen, but you really want to be on time for your interview. It is people keep track of that in a way. It is you don't want this to be registered against you in a way, showing up late. Sometimes when I'm not sure, it's a new city for me. What I do, I may go the day before, scout the area, figure out where should I go, arrive well ahead of time in case I'm going to try to find out where the interview place is. Some institutions are multiple buildings, and sometimes finding the right building is difficult. So be prepared. Come the day before if you can, and so you would always be on time. One of the things that commonly happen in the interview day, usually there will be an introduction session. In the morning of the interview, there will be an introduction session. And during introduction session, stay engaged as much as possible. Don't wander with your eyes. Don't look at your shoes. Stay engaged with the presenter. And I say these things because these things do happen. So always remain engaged and be attentive. Ask questions if you have questions. Don't ask questions just for the sake of questions, but ask questions only if you have important questions in your mind. When you get called for an interview, always a good handshake. You want to have a good grip of the interviewer day. You don't want to squeeze his bones. Some people like to have a very aggressive handshake in an expression of their sincerity, but this don't overdo it. At the same time, occasionally, particularly women, they might give you a cold handshake, give you like the tips of the fingers, and that is not nice either. It sets a cold tone to the interview. You want to grip the hand with your full hand, like you're trying to hold an X. So that is a good handshake is always. Another thing is to keep in mind is a good eye contact during the interview. Don't wander with your eyes. Always stay engaged, and always try to engage your interviewers. Be prepared with talking points. Have something to talk about. If you did something important and you think it's important to shed the light about what you've done, let's say you've done great externships in some U.S. hospitals. If let's say you did something worthwhile in your life, you want to talk about it. Let's say you've done research that you want to talk about it. Be prepared. Have always talking points where try to gear the interview to talk about the things that are important for you, and that will trigger a good conversation between you and the interviewer. Okay. In the interview, sometimes you may interview an Arabic-speaking interviewer. One of the physicians who you interview might be from back home or your town, or from an Arabic-speaking country. Never ever speak in Arabic in an interview. If the interviewer spoke to you in Arabic, that's a different story. Then that is fine. But never ever speak in Arabic. And people who work with me know that this is I despise talking in Arabic in a workplace, in a professional setting. That is not acceptable. Now, I may take my fellows for dinner, or maybe we are chit-chatting on the sideline. That is different. But in an interview, never ever speak in Arabic. Never address your interviewer with an Arabic greeting or anything of that sort. Don't even try to suggest that you are from a specific university. Instead of saying Damascus University, you say Jamiat Dimashq. That is not kosher. You want to always maintain professionalism, and speaking in English is a big part of being professional. When you speak in Arabic, it might be good for some interviewers, it might be bad for others. For me, this is offensive. So to avoid that, always you'll be safe when you speak in English. If the interviewer started speaking in Arabic, that's a different story. When you in the interviews, obviously always be prepared with questions. Don't ask questions simply for the sake of questions. Ask questions if they're genuine. You think you really need to ask this question. It's perfectly fine to ask questions. Just don't ask them for the sake of them if you know the answers. More importantly, don't ask stupid questions. Example of stupid questions: how much the interns are paid? How often is the call schedule? How often you're on call? Or something like these things are standardized across the United States. You're going to be paid the same amount, more or less, adjusted for cost of living in that particular area. So it doesn't help you, and it just suggests that you have nothing better to talk about. And the same thing for the call schedules. Call schedules are standardized for the most part. There are certain frequency, there are certain work hours that you cannot exceed, certain call frequency that you cannot exceed. Asking these questions are simply silly. You want to ask questions, ask about academics, ask about teaching, ask about research, ask about where the residents, for example, end up going after they finish their fellowship, their residency. Ask about board passing rates, ask about something that is important to your education, to your training. Don't ask about something where people live. I mean, this is not a question you want to ask in an interview. Now, if you match in that place and you start asking where people usually live, that is perfectly fine. But don't ask non-relevant questions. There are certain questions certainly you can ask to the residents who take you on a tour or go with you on a lunch. That is perfectly fine, for example, to ask about where the residents usually live. So these are things that are generally important. You want to conduct yourself in a most professional manner. These are kind of, I'm pretty sure others were going to talk about the interview itself and interviewing skills, but these are things that conceivably can make you seem silly in a way during an interview. Other things that you guys might encounter is, for example, trying to, actually, you know what, before I get to that, any questions so far?
عفوا دكتور رامي، راح نخلي الكويستشنز بعد ما تحكي تقريبا يعني 25 minutes بنعطيهم ان شاء الله
That is fine. All
حوالي
right.
10 minutes questions.
No problem. All right, I'll keep going then. The other thing that I would like to talk about is oftentimes residents or actually residency candidates try, for example, to get themselves a spot, for example, for externship or research, for example, awaiting their residency. And this is something certainly worthwhile doing while you're awaiting, you know, interviewing, match, etc. I often receive emails from residents who are interested. One of the things I would like to bring to your attention, these when you write an email in a professional setting, be extra diligent writing a professional level email. I can't tell you how often I get emails full of spelling mistakes, capitalization is all off, the uppercase, lowercase, it's all off, comma, period, spaces are messed up, and it tells me it just reflects poorly on the person sending it. I know that English is not your native language, it's not mine either, but you know, you try to, when you send a professional email, you want to be as perfect as possible. Some imperfections that related to your, you know, English not being your first language, that's perfectly okay. I understand that, but don't be sloppy. Sloppy means you don't pay attention to spelling error. I mean, your email browser, I'm sure, can do spell checks for you. It's very simple things that you could do to put yourself in the best light possible. Another thing, often you attach a CV to that email. Oftentimes I open that CV and I see it's full of formatting errors. The margins are not well aligned. Things are all over the place. Spelling mistakes, grammatical mistakes. Again, these things reflect poorly on you. If you cannot spend good amount of time examining your CV very carefully, it reflects poorly on you. If you, I understand none of us is CV experts. There are people who are able to do that for you if you can afford them to make your CV look professional. But even that is not necessary. I think this is often is a waste of money. Just show it, and I'm pretty sure all of us had people, kind of senior to us, maybe colleagues, friends, and best would be somebody who have in native English speaker, somebody who grew up in this country. If you know people like that, have them look at your CV. Does it look good? But your personal statement, the same way. Have them read it. Does it have grammatical errors, spelling errors, things like that? It can go a long way. You're not gonna get extra points for having no mistakes, but you certainly get negative points when you have spelling mistakes or grammatical mistakes. It seems simple, kind of trivial, but it's not. It tells me a lot about the person who does not take the time to write a good email or a good CV. If you cannot put few hours of hard work in your CV to make you look in the best light possible, it tells me that probably you're not serious in your work. Maybe you take things, simply. You're not serious about what you do. You're not passionate about what you do. So these things seem unrelated or irrelevant, but believe me, it goes a long way. All right. Sometimes people try to, for example, if you're trying to hook up with, let's say, a professor in some university around you, maybe you want to do research. One of the things that can annoy people, and again, being reflected poorly on you, is showing up without an appointment. Often people do it and they think somehow they're going to shame me by showing up without an appointment, asking to meet me. Is just not appropriate. It may not be a big deal back home, but it is a big deal out here. It reflects poorly on you. Often these people are very busy. Even if they're not busy, if somebody shows up without an appointment, it turns them off. They don't like you anymore. It tells them that you are not a proper person. Maybe you are too pushy. So that these things are again important. Keep in mind. Always send an email. Sometimes I'm guilty of that. I'm busy. Sometimes I may not respond to my email. Send them another email. That's okay, but don't send them 10 emails. You wait a week or two. If you don't hear from them, maybe send them like a gentle second email. That is okay. Obviously, if you don't hear from the second or third email, I would stop emailing them. It's not going to be. It's not going to help you anymore. But always, if those people have an assistant, work with the assistant. The assistant would buffer, these individuals from anybody want to meet with them. So maybe talk to them, say when he can meet me. Maybe we can schedule an appointment, something to that effect. That could be helpful. Now, let's say you end up meeting someone who you wanted to do research with, and they say, well, we're gonna, let's say we can make you work on this project, or one of the things I always ask people, and I put them on the spot, so to speak, it's like if you wanna volunteer to do research, that is great, but do not volunteer something you cannot fulfill. And I can't tell you how many times this happens. And now I kind of make it a point to ask very frankly, very openly. And let's say somebody tells me I'm going to be with you till next June, and then somehow they realize that it's not worth their while anymore, and they split off in March. Let's say they match and says like, forget about it, I'm going back home now, and that is something that reflects poorly on you. And you never know when these things come back to haunt you. Another example, somebody would say, yeah, I will do the work, and then they discover that they want to study for step 3, for example. And they stop coming, or they do not deliver what they promised to do. Do not tell people what they want to hear. Tell them what you think you can do. If you cannot do it, just not do it. Maybe this opportunity is not for you. Maybe it's for someone else, or maybe you're going to find another one that fits your schedule. But do not promise something that you cannot fulfill. And you never know when that person is going to come in your professional life again, and it will reflect poorly on you if you say you're going to do something and you do not do it. Another thing that every once in a while it happens is, for example, you get offered the pre-match position, and now I think this practice of pre-match is hopefully abolished. There's still some hospitals that do offer pre-match exclusively, but I've seen cases where people get offered pre-match, and they say, well, I've happened a case, for example, somebody happened to be from Syria. I spoke for him, and are you sure you want to be offered pre-match? Oh, absolutely, definitely. He gets an offer, then a pre-match, then he takes him on a ride for 2 weeks, not deciding to accept it, then he went somewhere else. This also, again, reflects poorly on you. And it is, you never know when it's going to come back and haunt you. It actually gives also reputation to people from your country. It will give bad reputation for people from Syria if, let's say, you promise something and you do not do it. So it's not only going to possibly hurt you in the future, because you never know when you're going to need that person again, but it will also reflect poorly on people from where you are from. Last thing I forgot to mention, again, when you communicate in emails, never ever use Arabic words in those emails. I've seen people send me emails with words such as inshallah or kattar Allah min amsalak and things like that. These things do not belong in a professional email. If that individual want to talk to you in Arabic, that's perfectly fine. But do not ever initiate that process. And I think that is pretty much all I have to say. And you guys are welcome to shoot any questions.
شكرا كثير لك دكتور رامي، الله يعطيك العافية. طيب هلا رح نحاول نستقبل الأسئلة. إذا في حدا عنده أي سؤال ممكن يكتبه عند الكويستشنز وأنا رح بقراه، والدكتور رامي رح يكون موجود معنا ناخذ كمان 10 دقائق إن شاء الله questions. هلا أنا أول سؤال وصلني إنه how we can improve interpersonal skills.
That is a good question. It is. This is something obviously you're gonna learn by practice. The more you live in this country, you learn how to conduct yourself. One thing I learned a great deal from is, believe it or not, watching TV. I know you guys all have friends. You tend to live close to each other. You want to associate with each other, and that is great. Having good social support in a foreign land is tremendously helpful. However, try to engage others, try to engage Americans, and try to learn something about American culture. One place you can learn a lot about that is from TV, believe it or not. You're going to learn a lot about American culture. It will give you something to talk about outside medicine during an interview. I remember when I came in, I spent hours and hours watching CNN. I learned a lot about the American political system, about American culture, watching sitcoms. One, you improve your English, and two, you learn a thing or two about the American culture. And that could be very, very helpful in any setting. Also during the interview. I remember actually I was when I interviewed at Cook County Hospital, where I ended up doing my residency fellowship, and I stayed over afterwards. The person who interviewed me, he was a nephrologist. He's originally from India. Every time he sees me, he keeps reminding me how what we talked about in the interview was politics. We started to talk about politics of the Middle East, American politics, and that is the part that impressed him the most about me, that I could talk about outside medicine. You never know what's on the mind of your interviewer. So try to learn as much as possible about the culture you are living in. Don't be just associate yourself with your friends. Try to be as open as possible. I suspect there are self-improvement books out there to teach you how to interview, how to conduct yourself, how to write an email. To be honest with you, I'm not sure how useful that is. It may be a worthwhile read. I've never done anything like that. But try to learn more from the people around you. Let's say American natives. Try to engage them, talk to them, and there's nothing wrong with showing them, your CV or your personal statement. That could be very, very useful.
طيب شكرا كثير دكتور رامي. في سؤال تاني كمان وصلنا بيقول what are the usual settings of the interview? Sitting around a conference table or behind a desk?
I see. Often when you come in, usually you'll go to a conference room. Most commonly, you go to a conference room where the program director or a designee of the program director is going to do an introduction to the program. They'll tell you about what the hospital is like, what the call schedule is like, what you expect from the program, things of that sort. So that's usually how it is set up when you arrive. Then afterward, you're going to be called by interviewers, usually anywhere between 2, 3, sometimes 4 interviewers, somewhere around 3. Could be 2, could be 4, where they're going to call you for personal interview. And now you're going to usually call you from that conference room. They take you to their personal office or offices nearby, and they will sit with you. Usually it will be behind, he or she would be behind the desk. It could be more of a intimate setting. Usually, I don't like to sit behind the desk. I feel that it gives a little bit of a, it could be intimidating to the interviewee. If the room setting allows, I like to put chairs facing each other. It is, I find it a little bit maybe more relaxing to the interviewee. But it varies. Most often will be the interviewer would be behind the desk and you would be sitting in front of the desk. Then you would have usually a tour of the hospital. And again, this tour of the hospital usually would be with one of the residents, could be the chief resident. During that time, ask questions about the hospital, be engaged. And if it's a resident, it's okay to ask them where they live, how, how's the call schedule, how the relationship with the attendings, things like that would be appropriate to ask the residents of the program. Are they happy? Things of that sort. These are things that you could certainly ask the resident. And again, during these tours, stay engaged. Don't seem bored. Don't seem annoyed. Sometimes people who come with very high scores and they go to a hospital, maybe a community hospital, they think they're too good for that hospital. If you're too good, don't go to the interview. But if you go there, be engaged, be interested, ask questions, don't seem dismissive. And believe me, we can tell. Somebody who's clearly not interested, they think they're too good for that place, I'm not interested in them either.
في عندنا كمان هيك أكثر من سؤال نحاول نجاوبهم على السريع. في واحد بيقول could you please talk more about the body language and the posture and the way we should sit down during the interview?
Sure. It would be most important part about body language is eye contact. Never lose eye contact with the interview. Don't look down. Don't look at your shoes. Don't stare at the walls, at the pictures, or whatever. Always keep a good eye contact. Secondly, keep your legs together and maybe a little bit of a close to each other. Keep them close to each other. Crossing your legs is okay, but you just don't do it in a kind of a derogatory way. Don't slide down in the chair. Sit upright in the chair. And use your hand when you talk. Talk normally. Don't try to be someone else. Talk with a clear voice. If you have a soft voice, make a point to talk in a, obviously you're not going to scream, but kind of a nice, clear, easy to hear voice. You don't want to be soft. You don't want to be hard to hear. And use your hand. Most importantly, again, eye contact.
طيب في سؤال تاني هون عم يحكي عن إنه I was asked in the interview how many interviews did you get and where. The program was community and I got better interviews. Shall I be honest and mention the other interviews?
Yes, be honest. Don't worry about it. Don't brag. For example, if you have, you may not want to mention the very top ones. And usually when I ask where else you're interviewing, that usually means that program, that I'm interested in that person. All right. Usually I ask these questions. I even do that for fellowship candidates. When I ask them where else are you interviewing, I want to know, what are our chances with that person. I want to know what is his level of interest in our program. Now, it is nothing wrong to have other interviews. If you have university programs and community programs, nothing wrong to mention those. You don't have to rub it in, so to speak, like you try to let. It's like I got from this and this and that, and you name 20 universities. It will appear, mentioning a few, that is fine. And you always want to tell them, when that happens, you want to tell them why you are interested in that place. If you have 20 interviews in a university and you're going to a throwaway program, maybe you should not waste your time. If you think that, if you do not go to an interview where you know that you're not going to be there, you don't want to be there. All right. So if you're there, you are there for a reason. So always you want to make it a point why, if you're asked about this question, always you want to have a comeback. You want to tell them, I have this and this and this, but your hospital is important for me for X, Z, and Y. My friends here, they're receiving great education. Maybe I want to be in Chicago. Maybe, you want to have a reason why you want to be there. All right. If you don't want to be there, maybe you should not be in the interview.
طيب السؤال اللي بعده بيقول is it professional to send an email now to the program director or to the chairman to show interest in their program that I
Absolutely no
heard.
problem with that. No problem with that.
Okay.
Before the interview, the question is that before the interview or after the interview?
No, he never.
After the interview,
No,
always
he
good to
didn't
send
hear
an email.
anything from them.
I'm sorry?
He didn't hear anything from them. يعني he didn't receive an interview yet.
I see. Maybe more appropriate to talk to maybe the program coordinator. Sending an email to the program director, one email, not 20, one email to the program director says like, well, I am whatever so interested. My wife is in the program, or my wife is in the another hospital across town. I really want to be there. I heard great things, and I would love to be there. Here's my CV. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I would say maybe it works maybe 10-20% of the times. Usually, we have the way we pick interviewees is every hospital have different ways of doing it. We, for example, at Stroger, we pick strategically. We want to have a diverse group, and you want to have women. We want to have people from all over the globe, from East Europe, from Africa, from South America, from the US, obviously, from Middle East, from India, Pakistan, whatever. And sometimes for you as Syrians, unfortunately, there are too many of us. All right, the same like Indian male. This is probably the worst demographic to apply for residency, being an Indian male. Syrian male is a close second, maybe, or a third. There's so many of us. And usually programs may not send you an interview, not because you're not good enough, but maybe because we have too many Syrian males, let's put it that way. All right. So you may want to send an email says like, well, consider my application. I really want to be here for X, Z, and Y. And maybe you have great scores and you got overlooked because we have too many Syrian males. I was like, okay, maybe I'm going to send this guy an interview. He seems really interested. After the interview, you really want to, it's certainly good to send an email. Do not make the email generic. Don't say the same thing to everybody that could apply. I'm favorably impressed by the whatever. These things do not help. I would put personal things, very specific things you talked about in that interview. It will first remind the program director or the interviewer of you. You don't want to put generic stuff. Just like I was favorably impressed. I mean, this doesn't help you. Put something specific you discussed. You discussed the war in Syria, or you discussed the research or something like that. Talk specifically about what we talked about. Speaking of the war of Syria, do not ever initiate that conversation. If somebody initiated, that's fine. You can, it's a divisive issue, and probably, don't talk. Usually, the rule in the U.S. don't talk politics or religion as much as possible. If you're asked, or somebody asks you because you're from Syria about the war, I mean, certainly, it's good to engage in that conversation. But it is, something probably you don't want to bring up yourself.
طيب في سؤال بيقول what should I do if I didn't understand the question?
Ask to repeat the question. Do not answer if you do not understand the question. And that's sometimes I see that frequently, particularly among Syrians. Sometimes our English is not great. My English was not great when I came to this country. And if you do not understand the question, politely and nicely says like, can you repeat the question, or I did not understand your question. There's nothing wrong with that.
في سؤال كان بيقول what's the advice to stand out?
What is the advice to stand out? I think how to stand out on your CV is difficult, and it is obviously related to your scores, very importantly, and what else you did. So a lot of time, unfortunately, the only way candidates are screened are according to their scores. If your scores are poor, it's very hard to stand out, no matter what you do. But if your scores are good, you want to show something extra. Having letters of recommendations from US rotations is useful. It's an attention grabber. Also, having done some research experience, particularly if you have abstracts or publications, will help you stand out.
دكتور 2 minutes بس راح نحكي يعني عندي 6 أسئلة و2 minutes فإن
Sure.
شاء الله what should I say about an exam attempt or even a low score?
Well, it's always it's always your fault in a way, but it is if you have a special circumstances that you could not prepare well, such as the war or something like that, you can bring it up, and it doesn't hurt to address it. Don't run away from it, hoping that nobody will notice. People notice this, but you cannot run away from it. If you have a good explanation for it, explain it.
Would I feel it if I impressed the interviewer?
Yes, usually yes. Some interviewers are difficult to read. Usually I do not shy away from giving them immediate feedback that we like you, we want you to be here, something to that effect. Yes, you will know it. When you can see that the interview is going well, you have a good engaging conversation, you would know that the interviewer like you.
طيب في سؤال تاني كمان عم بيقول إنه هو unfortunately he has hearing problems and he uses hearing a problem K, I think hearing aids. So
Right.
is he able to tell the interviewer to and ask him to speak up and slowly? Or
Absolutely, there is nothing wrong with that. Actually, you will be respected for that. Don't run away from your disabilities or for your difficulties. Bring him right on. And this is one thing great about this country, that these things are accommodated. And if anything, you will get. This is something that you will take into account. I don't think it will hurt you. It depends, obviously, what you're applying for. But in general medicine, it should not. For example, should not hurt you if you have a hearing difficulty.
وعم بيقول if we were asked about a failure in the USMLE, is the language barrier good answer?
No, this is probably عذر أقبح من ذنب. You don't want to say that my English is lousy and on top of that I failed the exam. No, it says we were, I wasn't well prepared. We study medicine in a different language, in a different style of questions, and I wasn't well prepared, and I take the full responsibility for that. It does, and unless you have you got a stroke the day before the exam or something like that, and hopefully no one would have something like that. But it is, unless you have very unusual circumstances, you want to bring them up, what your unusual circumstances are. But if you fail, you fail. It's hard to run away from it.
طيب سؤال تاني كمان بيقول if offered a pre-match, how should decide to take it or continue the match?
Well, right now, my understanding that the programs are either all in the match or not in the match altogether. Usually what happened that programs that that offer out of the match, what they do, they try to snatch good candidates early on in the process and make them get out of the match. Usually these are not the best programs. So if the program tells you that they're outside the match and they're offering you pre-match, then you know that they're not top program. They know that they have difficulty getting people to match with them because they know that they're not the best out there. So they have two options: either to accept candidates that are not so good in the match, or snatch very good candidates outside the match. Now, generally speaking, it depends. Every situation is different. If you have outstanding 20 other interviews in great programs, maybe you don't want to accept it. If you have 3 interviews in other programs, and and the chances are not so great, I would accept it. Usually, however, these will offer these very early in the process, usually in October, and immediately will make you sign a withdrawal of the match letter. They will send it themselves to make sure that it is done, and you will be denied the opportunity to go anywhere else. If you're desperate or you don't have other good options, it may be okay, but you should know that when they offer that, they know that you are a great candidate and they cannot get you outside the match. Sorry, they cannot get you in the match. That's why they're snatching you outside the match.
طيب, our last question للدكتور رامي. During the interview, when should I lean forward on the desk?
When should you lean forward on the desk? I would not lean forward on the desk altogether. Just stay put, sit in your chair upright and use your body language, use your hands to show your passion. But I would not lean forward.
اوكي طيب، يسلموا كثير دكتور رامي، شكرا جزيلا لحضورك ومساعدتك معنا. الله يعطيك العافية الله يخليك. شكرا جزيلا لك. الله يخليك. طيب، هلا راح ناخذ الدكتور شادي لاطا. هو internal medicine physician. هو خلص من شيكاغو and he's still in Chicago. دكتور شادي، الو.
نعم تسمعني؟
ايه هلا عم بسمعك تمام. انا
طيب كثير كويس. ممكن طالع السلايدز عندك؟
طالعه هلا السلايدز؟
اوكي يا فيري جود.
تمام. تفضل. راح الدكتور شادي يحكي لمدة 20-25 minutes وبنحكي إن شاء الله 10 or 15 minutes إن شاء الله questions. تفضل دكتور شادي.
طيب، أول شيء حابب أشكركم جميعا على حضوركم، شباب ب different states وشباب معنا online. هلا I understand there's like 70-80% with us. So welcome everybody. وبدي أتشكر محمد السيد على المجهود اللي بذله. He put a tremendous effort on organizing this. This is a huge work. Try to organize this on 3 different locations and organize all this. So thank you very much, Muhammad. We really appreciate it. طيب, today I will try to talk in 25 minutes. This I'll cover one of the main things that people ask about, which are the commonly asked questions during the interview. And before that, I'll give you a few tips about the day of the interview. Dr. Doukky already has gone over a few of them, but we'll just touch upon them very quick. So first thing, personal appearance. Again, Rami mentioned about that. Just you have to look professional, buy a nice suit, a nice tie, don't overdress, don't wear strange colors. Usually they're like dark navy, black, things like that. So you don't want to draw attention to your suit only or your dress. Make sure your shoes are polished. I did a chief resident at St. Joseph Hospital, and we have interviewed a lot of people. And sometimes, they will come in and they have very nice suit, everything, but you look at their shoes and it's not. So it doesn't look good. So try to look professional, neat. Shave in the morning, have a shower, put a little bit of perfume, not too much, so that you look fresh. People like to see that you can take care of yourself. So this is appearance, firm and shake hand and eye contact. Rami has mentioned about that. Next, please. Okay, so arrival, again, Rami mentioned about that. This is very important. You have to be there on time. Try to arrive there half an hour earlier or an hour earlier. What I have been trying to do when I did my interviews was I would arrive the night before and try to go to the location of the interview the night before, so you know your way, you know what bus you have to take, or if you're taking a cab, you know the building. Especially if you're going to a hospital with different building, you will get lost. So you don't want to get lost in the time of interview. You don't want to show up late, so they will look at you and this is a negative sign. Okay, and then you will راح تتلبك يعني once if you're already running late, and so يعني this will really affect your performance. Okay, so yeah, arrive early. This is very important. Next, please. Okay, about your attitude, you always have to have a good attitude. Again, Rami mentioned about that. Be confident, but not arrogant in your posture, in the way you talk, the way you talk about where you did your training. I remember when I interviewed somebody from Syria, he used to tell me, "Oh, I'm graduated from this college. It's the best college in Syria. We had excellent training." You know, come on. I mean, I'm from Syria and I know what it is. Okay, it doesn't sound good. Okay, you should never say, "Oh, I'm the best," or "I'm coming from the best school," and all that. So if you have strength, it's good. You should mention them, but don't sound arrogant. This doesn't sound good. The second thing is be nice and to the program administrator. So there's program the secretary. Usually they will meet you once you come in, and they will organize the interview during the interview day. They will not match you. They will not give you a position because you're nice to them. But if you're not, I remember one time that the secretary came to us and she said, you know, that applicant, he was really rude to me when he was talking. So this is a red flag. So we just took him off the list. So just try to be nice to everybody, okay? And then try to get engaged and talk with other people, and have a good balance between talking too much and talking too little. So you don't want to be garrar. The interview process is to evaluate your personality. Okay, so you look good on paper. That's why they invited you. They liked you on paper. They liked your score. They know you have excellent score, and they know you have failed the exam. So they know you on paper. They want you to come in so that they will make sure that you're a nice guy they can work with for the next 3 years. You know how to speak English. You have good communication skills. This is why they call you. So they're not here really. They didn't call you really to ask you about your medical knowledge and make sure that you know medicine. You're coming for training to get trained, and they will teach you that. And it's very uncommon that they will ask you medical questions. Usually, like really not good programs. Sometimes I hear programs in New York or something, they can ask a few questions, but this is not very common. And we'll come to that when we talk about the questions. Next, please. I think it's not advancing. Okay, now you're done with the interview. How do you follow up? Again, Dr. You mentioned about that. Always send a follow-up note and make it personal. So what I used to do during my my interview, I would carry a piece of paper, okay? And after each interview, I will write few points that I have talked about with the interviewer. Okay, so we talked about Syria, we talked about politics, we talked about sports, because at the end of the day, you will forget what you talked about. So I'll just write few notes, and this will help me when I write a follow-up letter. So always you have to send a thank you letter. I usually send thank you email. I've never sent a thank you card, but you could, I guess. But the thank you email, you should send that. Send it within a week from your interview. The sooner the better, probably the second day, so you're still fresh in their memory and they know who you are. And again, try to mention something personal. Don't have just a generic thank you letter and just email it to everybody. It really doesn't sound good. If they didn't reply to you, don't take it personally. There are a lot of programs that they have policy not to respond to thank you letters. So don't get offended. Sometimes some people are nice enough and they would reply. When I used to get thank you letter, I would reply and say, thank you, it's been nice meeting you. We wouldn't, match somebody or give a position because he sent a nice thank you letter, but it's part. Everybody does it, so you are expected to do that. And I think some programs they print it and put it in your file, and then just look at it when they do the rank order list. So send a nice thank you letter. Spend some time on it, so that it might help. I mean, you should do it. Next, please. Okay, so let's get into the interview. So greeting, again, Rami mentioned about that. Always give a good first impression. Show that you're confident. Always try to smile and show you're enthusiastic. This is very important. So you want to give a good first impression. Next. I don't think it's like, okay. So now we're gonna go through the commonly asked questions that you will be asked during the interview. Well, I'll start with the greeting, and as I have mentioned before, try to have a balance between talking too much and not talking at all. So every time whenever I interviewed somebody, I know they're anxious and they're a little bit, labbakin from the interview, which is expected. They are nervous. So I would try to ask them a question and like how their travel was, how they're doing, just try to break the ice. So when I first meet somebody, I would say, you know, hi, I'm so and so, welcome to this program. How are you? How was your travel things? So what I would like you to do is try to have a small story. Okay, when somebody tell you like, how was your day going, or when did you arrive to the city? So try to have a small story, something that you can talk about, just like 2-3 sentences. And if we go next, I have an example. Okay, so I used to ask this, like, when did you come to Chicago, if somebody is not from the area? And some people will just say, you know, yesterday or 2 days before or something. This is a nice opportunity. This is the first sentence that you're gonna say. So you want to say something nice. So I would suggest something like, you know, okay, I arrived here yesterday, went on a walk, Michigan Avenue with a friend of mine. You know, that tells them that, you know, you have some network connection here, you know people. I'm a resident here at Christ Hospital. We did this. I like Chicago. I have a lot of friends here, and I'd love to do my training here in Chicago. So just have a story, you know, like probably you had something interesting, you heard something when you're flying in or in driving. So just if you can have a small story, that might help. That might be nice. Next, please. Okay, so tell me about yourself. You're always going to be asked these questions, and this is the most important questions. So what I want you to do is, for all these questions, you have to write them down, okay, and write your answers when you are going to be asked these questions, how you're going to answer them, okay? So this is a question that you will be asked no matter what. And so whenever I talk to you about these commonly asked questions, I'll try to explain to you why do interviewers ask this question, okay? And I'll give you an example, and not a good way of answering these questions, and I'll give you a good example about how to answer these questions in a good way. So tell me about yourself. Again, very important. Why do people ask you that? They want to give you a chance to sell yourself, okay? And it's a start point. They want you to tell them about yourself, what you have done, and then they will stop you and they will digress and they will ask you about, oh, so you said this, what about that, you know? So this is just a starting point. And sometimes, and you might be surprised, but they don't know nothing about you. You know, a lot of time, you know, the program coordinator will call up somebody, say, hey, you know, we have an interviewer who didn't show up. Can you come in and do an interview? Or the interviewers, they're busy, you know, they're attending, they're busy with their work, and they have your file folder, but they really did not go through it, so they don't know much. And I think this is not uncommon, that the interviewer don't know nothing about you. They know your name, that's it. So they want to give you a chance to summarize your CV and what you have done. So this is a very good start point for you, and I want you to take good advantage of that. Next, please. Okay, so let's just give an example, and believe me, this might sound a little funny, but I had people answer like that. So I would say, oh, I was born in Idlib. I'm from Idlib, so no offense. My father and mother are teachers, and I have 6 brothers, 5 sisters. I'm the third among them. I also have 2 nephews and 1 niece. I'm exaggerating, but I had people telling me, when I say, tell me about yourself, they'll tell me about their brothers and sisters and what their father do. Who cares? I went to primary through high school in Idlib, and after finishing high school, I went to the best medical school in Syria. Then I took my USMLE exam, and I have 99 in all the steps. They're very happy about 99, which tell you that I'm so smart. And then I came to the United States to apply for residency. I'm exaggerating here, but a lot of these things, I had people telling me that. They will tell me, oh, I have this, I'm very smart, and I have scored 99 in my USMLE exam. So okay, so I'll show you next an example how to answer this question. So this is a good answer, and this is what I used to say when I went for my fellowship interviews. So I used to say, I was born in Syria, and that's where I went to medical school. In medical school, I became interested in internal medicine because, and then you have to mention why you like internal medicine. So you should have your own reason why you want to do medicine, or why you want to do surgery, or why you want to do OB-GYN. If you can have a story that got you to like this specialty, it's nice to mention it, but again, very, very briefly. So I would say I was drawn to my training. I was drawn to do my training in the United States because I knew that there is where I would get the best education and training in internal medicine. After graduation, I worked as a primary care physician. At that time, I took my USMLE exam. Then you can list your achievement. I have done research. I have done this and that. Very, very briefly. So mention your strength. I was thrilled to get this interview. I used to say that after, in the beginning, just to show appreciation. So I was thrilled to get this interview today. I have learned a lot about your program, and I'd be honored to train here. So the way you should answer this question, don't talk about your family, don't talk about your father, what he did, and your sister. So what you need to do is you need to give a chronological description of what you have done, okay, since you got into medical school until this point, okay? So where you went to medical school, why did you like this specialty, why did you come to America, and then try to talk about your strength. Again, everyone should write down probably 10 lines or whatever about, tell me about yourself. So explain, summarize all your achievement and what you have done so far. Next, please. Okay, again, the same thing here, that's just explaining what I have mentioned. Next. Okay, second question. Again, you will always get asked this question: why did you choose this specialty? Okay, so so you need to show your commitment and knowledge about this specialty that you're applying to, and you have to be honest. Don't making up stuff. Don't say, oh, I want to become an internal medicine doctor because my father is an internist or my grandfather is an internist. This is really not a good, this is an overused reason, but this is not a very good reason, because you're an old, you're a mature person, and you should have reason why you're doing stuff. You're not just doing stuff because your parents told you to do so, or your parents did that. And then these program directors, they have done this for a long time, so they can tell if you're telling a true story or you're making up stuff. Okay, so when you try to write down this, try to talk about things that you really experienced. Okay, it's okay to exaggerate. It's okay to بهر شوي الحكي, بس يعني make it personal. So you will stand out, and you will be a unique person, unique applicants. Next, please. Okay, so I'll just give an example. Why this specialty? So somebody would say, my father was a pediatrician, I wanted to follow his steps. So this is not good. Grandfather had diabetes. Oh yeah, this is another one. That they will, oh, my father had cancer, and then I want to become an oncologist. This is not a good reason why you want to spend the rest of your life dealing with a particular specialty. Next, please. Okay, so a good answer I would use, if somebody is going into internal medicine, I would say I started to like internal medicine ever since I did my rotation during my medical school. I like the way internists think about patients' problem and try to solve them in a very logic way. I also like the long-term relationship that an internist get to build with his patients. So this is nice. This is that means you understand, the specialty, what's nice about it, and you have some passion for it. Again, if you have a story, why you like this specialty, this is really nice. If you have an interesting surgical patients when you were in medical school or when you were doing observership that attracted you to do this specialty. If you had a good mentor in medical school, again, that he was a surgeon and you really liked him and you liked the way he treated his patient. So it's very good. It's very good if you can say a story about that. This is very nice. Next, please. Okay, again, third question. You will get asked this question: why are you applying to our program, or why are you applying in this city here? So what you need to show that you have done your homework, and that you have any links. If you have any links to the program or to the city, you want to make sure you bring them up, because this is important. And you might have noticed that programs in Chicago, they tend to call people from Chicago area or from Illinois. Programs in New York, I mean, why do they do that? Because they want some people with network, people with connection to the area, to do the residency there. They have social support, so people who are from the city, they know the area. They're not going to be struggling in the beginning. You're going to be dealing with a lot of new things, language, system. They don't want to add on top of this just you being a stranger to the city and you're learning your ways around. So if you have links to the city, that's good. If you have family, if you've lived in the area, if you have friends, I think this is important. Okay. Back, I think there was a couple of points. Back, please. Okay, so do your homework. Okay, try Google. This is going to be your best friend. Okay, look at the city. What's nice about it? If it's a rural area, probably you want to say something like, okay, I like biking or hiking. But again, don't lie, because if you say, oh, I like biking, they'll say, oh, what type of bicycle do you bike? So if don't lie. If you really like something, then just mention it. But find a link, a true link between you and this place. Okay, if you are from a big city, you're from Damascus, you're from Aleppo, and then so you want to come to a larger city, similar city. If you are from a mountain area and you're applying to you're going to a city in mountain area, so you can say, oh, I'm from similar area and I like it, enjoy it. So try to find some links. And don't lie too much, don't, if you're going to small program in the middle of nowhere, don't say, oh, I love your program, best education, best. They know you're lying, So be reasonable. They know who they are, and each program you can find little things that stand out. So if you have connection, if you know people who are trained there, it's very helpful to talk to them and ask them, what are the strengths of this program? What's nice about it? What's nice about this city? So they can tell you an inside tips about what you can say. Next, please. Okay, so what's not a good answer? You say, oh, because your program offers excellent teaching and very good friendly atmosphere. So this is a very generic. Again, try to stay away from generic answers. Okay, anybody will say that. Next, please. So what's a good answer? You say, well, I have heard a lot of things about your program. My friend is doing his residency, if that's true, and he told me this few points, that we talked about. Or you could say that I have looked at your website and I like the fact that you have this rotation, or you have international elective or whatever. You can talk about their curriculum. You can look at their fellowship placement if you're interested in a certain fellowship, and you see that this program have a good fellowship. You can mention that. You can mention something about their board passing rates, the city, certain rotation that interest you. So you can always mention that. Okay. Another question. Tell me your strength. So a lot of time you will get asked this question, and you should have answers to this. You might not get asked the same exact, like, tell me about your strength, but you might get asked about, okay, what makes you stand out? Why should we choose you? So when I interviewed people, I used to say, we have 12 for 14 person in the waiting area. Now we're coming today to apply to interview. Why should we pick you? What makes you stand out? It's the same thing as what are your strengths. So what you need to do is you need to show that you are a mature person, okay? And this is a great chance for you to sell yourself again. Next, please. Okay, what is not a so good answer? You would say, I'm a very hardworking, smart, honest, and I have very high USMLE scores. So these are, again, cliche, generic words. Everybody says that. You don't want to say what everybody says. You want to be unique. Somebody a little bit ago asked Rami, how can I be unique? You have to be unique with your answers, how you answer this. You don't want to say exactly what everybody. I'm good. I'm hardworking. I'm smart. Everybody's hardworking. Everybody is smart. If you reach this point, they know that you're hardworking. So what you need to do, you always have to give example. So Americans love to hear examples, and this is when you give example that show you're honest and you're saying the truth. You really have experience. You're just not saying generic words and ready answers. And when you do that, you will have a good impact on your interviewer. Next, please. So if you say, oh, I'm a team player, or I have leadership skills, so you have to have an example. For example, I remember one girl, she was from India, and she said, I have great organizing skill. I was like, well, give me an example. She said, well, when we, during school we used to write, بنطلع عنا نحن بنكتب المحاضرات. Yeah. So she said, oh, I used to organize this. يعني هي شغلة سخيفة نحن في كثير منكم بيوز كانوا يعملوها, but she made it sound like a big deal and sound like she organized this and she will get them typed and printed and عملتها شغلة كبيرة, which sounds like that's good. So even simple things you can make, and all of you guys have done similar things. You have done, you have good organizing skills, you're hardworking, so you should look back in what you have done so far, and you will find a lot of examples, but you have to think about it. This is the time to think about this. Don't wait until the time of interview. You're anxious, you're stressed out, you're speaking in a language that's not your tongue language, okay, and then at that time you have to come up with a story. You're not going to remember anything. So this is the time now this is the time to try to remember and write down what you are going to answer, how you are going to answer these questions. Next, please. Oh, let's go back. Actually, we didn't talk about weaknesses. Okay, so tell me about your weaknesses. Sometimes, not all the time, they will ask you these questions. So tell me about what's your weaknesses. And this is a tough question because we are not used to criticize ourselves, or say, talk about our weaknesses. But people want to see that you are a mature person. You can identify your weak areas and you can work on them. What I would suggest is that you choose something that is not major. Don't say, oh, my English was bad, or don't say something that's major that they would not take you into this training program for, but say something minor that shows that you have worked on it and you have improved. Next, please. So not a so good answer. You wouldn't say, some people would say, oh, I don't think I have any weaknesses. I mean, everybody has weaknesses. Or you shouldn't say something like, oh, I studied in Arabic, I have difficulties with medical terms. So again, this is a major thing. You don't want to make this as a weakness. Next, please. A good example, you can say something about public speaking. Everybody has anxiety of public speaking. So you can say something, oh, I have anxiety about public speaking. I realized that earlier in my career and or during medical school, and I have worked on it. So you have to identify your weakness and tell them that you have realized it, you have worked on it. Okay, you try to give more presentations, talk in public, and then you have improved. And you say, oh, I have improved. Now I can give a talk and without getting anxious and all that. So minor thing, you identified it, you realized it, you worked on it, and you improved. So you turn this question into a strength. Okay, next, please. Other example, you can say I multitask. We all multitask. We can do different things at the same time or do many projects. So you can say that. You can say I'm a perfectionist. I like to do things, and this just gives me anxiety, and it makes me think more and more, when I go home. So this is another example. You can say something, I would like to have a better balance between my work and my family. I work hard. I spend a lot of time in the hospital. So just show you that you're working hard and you're just trying to find a balance. Again, a strength that you can change, or a weakness that you can show as a strength. Next, please. Okay, tell me an interesting case. Again, not very common. Very few. I don't remember that I got asked this question during my my residency. I got asked this question during my fellowship, and my fellowship interviews. And I think the reason people might ask you this is not they don't want to test your medical knowledge. They want to make sure that you're familiar with the American system. Okay, you know how to present a case. Okay, you know how to go through chief complaint, history, present illness, things like that. And they want to see your English language. So what I would suggest is that you prepare a simple case just in case you get asked. It doesn't have to be a case report or something like very rare, something interesting that you have learned something from it. And you're a medical student. You're not expected to say something, present a very, very rare disease or something very challenging. It's something simple. Summarize it in a nice way. Have one a resident or an attending here who is familiar with the American health system look at it, correct your grammars, correct the way you're presenting the sequencing, how you're presenting the case. So just have somebody look at it. Next. Again, why should we take you? As I said, I used to ask this question. This is the same question as tell me about your strengths. So just be humble. Next, please. Okay, an example, not a good example. I have 99 on step 1 and 2. Well, I mean, they have your CV and stuff, so most of the time they would know about your scores again. Well, I went to the best medical school, all that, so that's not good. So good answer, we would say something like, you know, I'm sure that I have other, I'm sure that you guys have good, other good candidates. Because this is an excellent program, something like that. But I think I'm hardworking. Again, give example. I can adapt easily to a new system. And again, give example. I've worked in different. I worked in Syria and Saudi, and then I did some observership, so I can get familiar with the new health system faster. I'm a team player. Again, give example. Next, please. Okay, what about a failure that you have done? And this question was asked to Dr. Doukky. So you should expect that you will be asked this. What you need to do is you need to admit your failure. Okay, don't try to just be defensive. State a reasonable explanation why it happened and show that you have worked to correct it. I remember I interviewed one girl and she had failed CS 2 times. And I was like, why did you fail CS? She said, well, first time my ankle died. Okay, fine. Second time, I don't know, she said like my fiance had an accident or something. كل الصدف ما بتصدف قبل الCS exam. But this is, yani, you shouldn't, we know that you should not take an exam if you're not ready. If you took an exam, it's a failure. Okay, you failed. So you have to state, okay, so if you have failed the CS, you can say something like, oh, I think I took it sooner than what I should have done. I didn't put, you know, enough effort. I did it before I did my rotations here, so I wasn't familiar with how to take history and do patients encounter. But after I failed, I realized that this is an area I have to work on. I did observership. I learned. I did that, and then I took the exam. It's fine, you know. Everybody can fail an exam. That's no big deal. But again, just it sounds, you know. Be mature, realize and admit that you did a mistake or this is a failure, and show them that you have worked on it. And now you finish your exam and you're here. Next, please. So a good answer I would say, as I said, when I first took my exam, I wasn't familiar with the US way of taking history, performing physical exam. I think I should have worked harder. So admit that you didn't put a lot of effort. So I should have worked harder to get more familiar with that. After that, I did 2 months externship, and I worked hard, I learned, and then I passed the exam. Next, please. I don't think it's moving. Okay. I don't know why it's showing like that. So what's your plan for the future? Yeah, nobody will judge you after if they ask you, okay, where do you see yourself 10 years from now? So nobody's going to come 10 years and ask you, you know, oh, you lied to us, you know, when you interviewed for this program, or 3 years they'll say, oh, nobody will remember, okay? But they want to know that, again, you're mature, you know what you want, you have some plans for the future. Things change, plans change. Everybody expects that. So be honest about it. And there is really no right or wrong answer to how to answer this. Again, you know, if you are going into a place that's academic, they would like their people probably to go into fellowship. So if you're interested in fellowship, say that, you know, I'm interested in GI, hematology, whatever, pulmonary, and after residency, that's what I will do. In 10 years, I see myself as a successful pulmonologist or cardiologist in, you know, practicing in the community, something like that. Or if you like academic, you say, oh, I see myself working in a university. I love teaching, and I think that's something that I'll be doing. If you are in community hospital in the middle of nowhere, don't say, oh, I want to do cardiology fellowship. That doesn't mean you can't get people come from small, but you know, when they don't want to see that your expectations are much higher than what they can offer you. Okay, like if you have done a lot of research, for example, and you go to a small hospital and you say, oh, I like to do research and I work in the lab and I enjoy that. They can't offer you that, so they're not going to rank you. But if you had, let's say, you know, you have worked in the research and you have done a lot of research, that doesn't mean they're not going to take you. I remember we interviewed a lady who did like 5 years of research at Harvard, and we were in community hospital, but she said, oh, you know, I really liked it, but I don't think that this is something I want to do. I want to do more clinical, and you know, so okay, so you know, we kind of assured that she's not going to be disappointed when she comes to our hospital. We don't have, you know, basic research to offer her, so just tailor your answer based on where you're interviewing at. Next, please. Okay, so and try to be familiar with what's going on in the healthcare. Okay, so now like Obamacare, Affordable Care Act. If you can read a little bit, okay, so become more familiar with it, and you have an opinion, you might get asked about these things. So it's nice to, you know, try to read like during the interview period. Try to read like CNN or any news website. Try to be update yourself and get familiar with the big stories. Next, please. Okay, you might get asked, what if you don't match this year? What are you going to do? So it reminds you that this can happen. It will happen to some of you, hopefully not. But ideally, you would say that you will apply again the following year, and then in the year between, you're going to try to strengthen your chances by either doing research, volunteer work, or externship. So again, they just want to see your commitment to this process. Next, please. Okay, so we're coming to the end. So just in general, again, be unique. Don't use generic, cliche, generic answers. Be honest. Don't lie too much. It's okay to تبهر الشغلات, but don't lie because they will catch you. Okay, try to give examples. This is very strong way of being unique and convincing the interviewer that you're a unique person and you're a good candidate is by giving example. Be confident. Know your application very well. So and expect that you will get asked about small details. I remember in my interview they asked me about رسالة التخرج and I don't remember what it was, but I put it in my application and they asked me and I didn't know how to answer. You know, I stumbled. I said a few words. But so expect if you say, oh, I like reading, you will find somebody who will ask you. They will say, okay, what do you read? What was the last thing you read? They will ask you this question. So anything that you put on your CV, you have to know, and you expect that you might ask about it. Again, practice, practice, practice. This is the time for you to sit, write down your answers to these questions that we talked about. Write down your unique answers, the example you're going to mention, and go through them every day. Stand in front of the mirror. Practice with your friends. You want to break the anxiety. You don't want to go and when you say the answer, you want to sound natural. You don't want to sound like, you know. I remember, you know, when we used to interview, there's some حفظانين لك شو اسمه الإجابة. So you know, you sound spontaneous, okay, and be unique. And then again, practice. I think is a key. That's all I have to talk about today. So if you have any questions, عندك أسئلة شيء؟ I mean, we can take a few questions from here.
في عندنا
if we have any.
عندي والله هون شيء 10 أو 12 سؤال بس ناخذ واحد من عندنا وواحد من عندكم إن شاء الله.
Okay.
في واحد هون عم يسأل إنه does Canadian experience count as an American experience?
I think so. يعني I think any experience, يعني American experience would be preferred. You know, I don't think this is going to matter now. I mean, you have done what you have done. So any experience in a Western country, I think, is good. What's the next question?
Best answer for changing the specialty and the reason?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is a very tricky question, and you have to know why you're changing. You did anesthesia بسوريا وهلا جاي you're applying into family medicine. You have to have they are going to ask you for this question for sure. It depends. You know, you have to have an answer. If you were doing surgery and then you want to do medicine, you can say something like, you know, I didn't like their probably lifestyle, waking up 3 o'clock in the morning, or I didn't like the fact that they don't have good patient-patient interaction, whatever. You know, you have to find a reason, okay? And again, this is something that you want to discuss with somebody who is here in the United States, who know the system and the difference between specialties. You don't want to say something that you didn't like about specialty that's really not the fact here. So yeah, you should be ready if you are changing your specialty.
في سؤال هنا عم بيحكي عن الرانك ليست، هذا رح جاوب عنه إن شاء الله بالمحاضرة تبعي. How to explain the gap during medical school that we used to study for the steps?
Yeah, I would say, you know, usually we don't like to see gaps more than 6 months. 6 months is okay. You can always say that, you know, we study in different language, and I had to, you know, learn all the terminology, so it took me some time. So anyway, 6 months, 1 year, I think is fine.
واحد بيقول إذا واحد عطاني if I got a pre-match from a program, can I contact the other programs and I ask them what are my chances with them so I can decide to get the pre-match or not?
I think you can. I'm not very familiar now with the match, and it's changing now. But I don't think it's going to help. I mean, if there is a program that you think if the other programs offer pre-match also, and you think you're thinking seriously about the other program, I don't think it hurts. You can contact them. Most likely, they're not going to rush and offer you just because, you know, you're telling them that, you know, another program like me. But I think it's worth a try.
طيب سؤال من عنا وبعدين انت عندكم انتم اسئله. Is marriage considered as a negative point for the applicant?
I don't think so. I think it's the other way around. People like to see that you have stable relationship, and no, I think it's I don't think so. Sometimes they get concerned about females, you know, like getting pregnant, but honestly, it's يعني ممنوع. It's the interviewer should never discriminate against you because you're married. They should never ask you if you're planning on getting pregnant or if you're, you know, planning on getting married and all these things. This is prohibited. They cannot ask you about that. If you're pregnant, then they don't tell them you're pregnant. Don't tell them you are gonna get pregnant in the first month. It's gonna happen. We had a resident who got pregnant 1 month before her residency, so she took the first 3 months off. So things will happen, and it's always easier to apologize later on. Once you match, you can. I mean, they have to deal with you. What can they do?
طيب إذا كان عندكم أسئلة تفضلوا. يعني خلونا يعني ناخذ أسئلة من عندكم لأنه أنا لسه عندي كمان كثير أسئلة تقريبا 15 سؤال.
طيب أنا خلصت ريزيدنسي بسوريا. هلا سألت بإحدى المقابلات إنه شلون رح تتعامل مع إنسان رح يكون هو السنة الأولى يمكن أنت بتعرف أكثر منه. فهاي شلون نجاوبها؟
Yeah. So the question here, you know, somebody who has done residency already, so they finished 2 years or 3 years, they were senior residents, and now they're interviewing to become an intern now. And it's difficult. It's got to be difficult for you. So then you might get asked this question. I think the way I would say is, well, I realize that I'm coming with an open mind. Okay, I always like to learn new things, and there's a lot of things to learn. You know, this is a new health system, and you know, and I'm very open to learn.
في سؤال هون عم بيقول can I bring up a negative point in my CV if I am planning to use it in my interest?
Yeah, this is not very clear. I don't understand what they mean. Well, I mean, if you have a negative, let's say you have a failure, you failed 3 times in your exam or something, should you bring it up? I wouldn't. Probably just, again, it's case by case again, you know. But if you get asked, you know, try to explain it. Again, this is a very general rules. You know, everyone, you should, like the questions I told you, that the way, you know, the answers to the questions that I gave you examples, don't use them. Okay, don't use them exactly. Again, try to be unique. So every case is probably different.
بيقول السؤال هون what are how can we answer the question about what are the differences in education between Syria and USA?
I got asked a question about like the difference in health system, like what's the health system. So this is a question you might get asked. Okay, so in Syria it's government run, it's free. Here it's more different, more organized. There are more resources. Education, yeah, you can talk about, you know, how many years we spend there. It's like this different education system. I mean, these are not very essential questions. You can just explain to them how we do medical school there.
How long our answers should be? Is 2 minutes enough?
Oh, 2 minutes is more than enough. Yeah.
والله كثير حتى 2 minutes صراحة.
Well, just one thing, because the whole interview might take 10 to 15 minutes. If they are going to ask you 5 questions. 2 minutes is too long. Yeah.
I did surgery residency in Syria. How will that affect my application for internal medicine or peds?
I would say that again.
هو عمل surgery residency بسوريا. How this will affect his application if he applies to internal medicine or peds?
Yeah, I think it's a negative thing. Okay, that's how people will look at it, right? I mean, you were trained in surgery, and now you are changing. It's so you should be ready. As we answered this before, we should be ready to explain to them why you're changing.
Is it okay if we sound undecisive about the fellowship we would like to pursue?
Yeah, that's very normal. You can say something like, well, I would like to do extra training. I'm not sure yet. I wanna wait until I finish my first year and get more exposed to different fields, and then I'll make up my mind. But if it's a big program and you think they will like to hear that, you can say, you know, I'm definitely interested in pursuing more like advanced training, but I just have not I have not made up my mind yet. Let me see if we have any questions here.
As for the interesting case, where you have to present that, does it have to be from their same specialty?
The question is, if somebody asks you about to present an interesting case, does it have to be from the same specialty? Excuse me. Preferably, yes. It doesn't have to. I mean, you are a medical student, so you did OB-GYN and you did surgery. So if you have an interesting surgical case, I would say it. You know, I would mention it.
في هون عم بيقولوا انه ما سمعوا الجواب على السؤال انه هذا الشخص اللي عمل surgery residency how this will affect his application for internal medicine or peds. بس ممكن نعيد لهم الجواب.
The jawab is there is nothing you can do about it now. I mean, you have done what you should do is you just apply and your chances, I think your chances are less because people will look negatively at this. So you have to try to apply to more programs. Use your connection. I think your chances of getting interviews might be less than other people. What can you do about it? I don't think you can do anything about it. Try to apply as many programs as you can and have an answer. If somebody called you, you should have a reasonable explanation why you're doing that.
طيب في عندكم أسئلة؟
خلينا نشوف عندنا سؤال هون. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, the question here, whether you should ask for a pre-match or not, or is it nice or not nice or rude? I think you should do your homework. If the program offer pre-match, it's very reasonable to say, you know, the way I would frame it. But if you really like the program, you know, you don't want to say I like a pre-match, but then they will offer you a pre-match. Say, oh, I'm sorry, you know, ما قصدي. So the way I would frame it is at the end of the interview, especially when you are with the program director or the associate program director, you would say, you know, I really enjoyed my interview here. I've liked what I've learned about your program, and I would be interested in signing a pre-match if you guys would offer me that. It's very reasonable. That's not rude at all. And there, in the program that offer pre-match, we used to offer pre-matches in my program. There is a box at the end. They would say, you know, offer pre-match or not, if this, you know, a candidate is a good candidate for pre-match. So I don't see any problems asking for that. But if you're going to a university and they don't offer pre-match, it sounds silly to ask for pre-match.
What to answer when asked, are you planning to practice in Syria or in the States?
Yeah, again, there is no right or wrong answer. Just be honest. Just be honest. If you would like to go back, you should have an explanation. If you want to stay here, there's explanation. 95% of people think that they will go back, and 95% of them will stay here. Nobody will go back. We have a question here.
What question should we ask the faculty and the program director?
Yeah, this is a very interesting question. So what because at the end they will ask you, okay, do you have any questions? First, it's important, don't ask a question that has been answered already. So pay attention. Usually during the interview day, there is like a 30 minutes presentation by the program director. So pay attention, okay? Because I remember one program director once, a candidate kept asking him about things that he already mentioned. So this, you were not paying attention. So first pay attention. Don't ask things that are already told or sent to you in the packet or things like that. And again, you're not supposed to ask questions. If you don't have questions, just say, I think, you guys did a great job presenting during your presentation, and I got all my questions answered. That's totally fine. If you do have questions, if you want to know about their fellowship placements, about the certain rotations, you feel free to ask. The other thing is you should know whom to ask the questions. So if you have a question about call schedule, you should not ask this question to the program director or to the interviewer. During the formal interview, don't ask this question, because they will think all what you care about is the call and how busy they are. So these questions, you save them until because after your interview, usually you will get a tour by the residents, or there will be a lunch with residents. So these questions you should ask the residents. Okay, don't ask about the salary. Some person asked me about the salary. This is stupid, because the salary is stable. Everybody gets the same salary. It's $50,000 plus or minus $5,000. So don't ask these questions. Okay, and again, know which questions to ask whom.
في سؤال من كليفلاند عم بيقول إنه are you gonna go back to your country?
If you're planning on going back, say yes and give them a reason. If you're not, say no. They're not gonna take you because you're a very nice guy and you want to go back to your country, or they will not cancel you or not write you an offer because you said so. So this is just case by case. There is no right or wrong answer. Just be honest.
Should we give examples and stories without being asked, or should we wait until the interviewer asks us for examples?
If you have an example, no, I will say it. If somebody say, what are your strengths? And you want to say, I'm a team player. So you would always say the example. Very short. I'm a team player because I organized this and that. I have a leadership skills because I did that. I was whatever. So no, you always have to answer with a question. Explain with an example.
من Michigan, tell me about yourself a question. Should we repeat the same point of CV?
Yes, but don't make it boring. Just prepare. This is the only question that you can answer in 2 minutes. So you can spend 2 minutes explaining that. So just the major points. Don't say your scores. Don't say the obvious things. So tell me about yourself is like just a chronological description of what we have done, and try to throw in few strengths about yourself in this.
Can we ask the program director about visa, or should we ask the residents?
I think you should know, once you go to a program, you should know what visas they offer. I would not bring it up with them. No, I wouldn't bring it up, because sometimes they just don't know. This is a question. This is again back to whom to ask what. This is a question to the resident. This is a question to the program coordinator later on.
سؤال تاني. What's the best answer for a private question? Like when will you marry, or are you going to be pregnant?
They will never ask you this question. If they ask you this question, what's that?
Being asked too many personal questions. Where do you live?
You got asked this question?
The whole interview.
Yeah, this is very, very unusual that you get asked about if you're personal things like. Okay, what I mean is they should not ask you your religion, your political opinions, if you're married or not, if you are planning to get pregnant. They should not ask you that. If they ask you, I mean, you don't want to offend them. You just answer, nice way. What's that? Yeah, don't take it personally. So if you get asked, answer the question and don't get offended. But again, if you're planning on getting pregnant or if you're pregnant, I wouldn't say that.
Is it okay to talk about fellowship plan, or is it better to focus on internal medicine only?
Say one more time.
Is it okay if we talk about our fellowship plans, or should we focus only on internal medicine?
Again, there's no right or wrong answer. This is case by case. If you are interested in fellowship and you're in a place, your interview got a place that there's reasonable options of you getting fellowship, say so. If you're not planning on doing fellowship, and just say so. This is just be honest again. and be yourself.
Can I answer that I was sick the day before the exam as a reason for failure?
I would stay away of that because this not very convincing. We have a question.
انا كنت مسائي وجيت نفرض هلا جايتني مقابله وحده، اذا سالت بالبروجرام جايتك كم مقابله جايتك، فلازم اقول له انه انا عندي مقابله وحده، هل هالشيء رح يقولوا انه في مشكله بهالابليكانت، ولا اقول له لا عندي مقابلتين ثلاثه واكذب
The question انه اذا واحد جايه بس مقابله وحده واذا سالوه كم مقابله جايتك كمان it's not very common to be asked this question. سالته it's more common than what I thought. طيب yeah I would say that I got called. Yeah, I think يعني بهرة شوي if you got yeah I can you can yeah.
طيب عندكم سؤال ثاني؟
ممكن رح يتعاطفوا معي ولا
Yeah, you know I think these yeah I don't know how important.
بس لو سمحت بدنا نعرف شو الأسئلة إذا في سؤال.
إيه السؤال هون كان إنه إذا واحد إجا مثلا مقابلة وحدة بس و during the interview he gets asked how many interviews he got. Should he say oh I got more, or again I think it doesn't hurt to say I got more interviews, just make you more attractive.
في سؤال هون بيقول if they ask us about the situation in Syria, what should we answer?
Yeah, I think there's a very good chance that they will ask you this. Just say your opinion, you know, just I would stay neutral. Don't because you know the other side might have their different opinion. So I'll just stay neutral, talk about you know people suffering and how you know regular people are being affected, and you know politicians they're the only one I'm مستفيدين. Yeah, just be generic. I think that's what I would do.
About plans for the future, is it good to tell him that I want to find a job as soon as possible?
So you mean okay? So like somebody like I just want to do residency and then do whatever. I think it's fine. Do like hospitalist or primary care. Again, you know, just be honest. Be honest. This is they're not gonna take you because you know you want to do fellowship, or they're not gonna not take you because you want to do primary care. Just be honest. When they ask you when they ask you about your plans, they just want to make sure that you do have some plans, and you إنه بتفكر مستقبل. You think in your future. They don't care what your plan is. And again, nobody's gonna come back and ask you next year and say, oh, if you match, you know, oh, you said you want to do cardiology, now you want to see, you know, you don't want to do hospitalist. They don't care. They don't remember, and you don't care.
طيب two more questions مشان أنا بلش لأنه ما ضل عندي وقت. Does it hurt my chances if I mentioned that I want to practice or get back to Syria? Oh, we answered this before. In the thank you letter after the interview, is it proper to mention that I will rank them high?
Yeah, I would always say that.
Okay.
You're one of the best. I liked you the most, and I'm gonna rank you high. Yes.
Okay.
If you really like them and they are your number one, you know, say you're on my number one. And then, you know, all these things, you know, a lot of the question you guys are asking, these are minor things. You know, what you say, you know, these are minor things. The most important thing is be ready for this big question that they're going to ask you. Be confident, look fine, look confident, look neat, and prepare for the, you know, your answers.
طيب شكرا كثير دكتور شادي. هلا عم يطلبوا 5 minutes break قبل ما بلش انا ان شاء الله. بنعطيكم 5 minutes break. هلا عندي انا 2:40. ان شاء الله بنرجع 2:45 رح بلش ان شاء الله. طيب بنبلش معناها هلا. في شيء دكتور شادي موافقين على الموضوع 5 minutes break؟ اوكي. السلام عليكم. طيب بدي بلش أنا بالمحاضرة تبعي، بس بدي أعرف من يا ريت ميشيغان وكليفلاند وشيكاغو يبعتوا لي مسجز إنه عم يسمعوني منيح. I just want to make sure يعني. آه، طيب عم بنتظر لسه أنا مسجز من شيكاغو كليفلاند وديترويت إنه الكل جاهز. طيب هي جو أهيد من ميشيغان بس. طيب 2 minutes لشيكاغو. مين بزود؟ طيب شيكاغو لما بتكونوا جاهزين ابعتوا لي مسج. طيب راح بلش معناها. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. طبعا اليوم أنا راح أحكي عن بقية الشغلات اللي ما حكوا عنها بال راح أحكي عن الشغلات اللي ما حكوا عنها بقية المحاضرين. شكرا كتير للدكتور شادي وشكرا كتير للدكتور رامي، الله يعطيهم العافية. معلومات كتير حلوة وكتير مفيدة. راح بلش أنا بالحكي. أنا بالعادة بحكي كتير بس إن شاء الله بتستفيدوا من بحكي. راح أحكي عن مواضيع كثيرة. راح بلش مباشرة. أول شيء how can I schedule my interview. كتير موضوع مهم، موضوع ال scheduling of the interview. اللي بيصير دائما في نوعين من الانترفيوز، إما تكون في phone interview أو regular interview. regular interview هي لما when they invite you to visit their hospital. وبالتالي لما بيكون الانترفيو عن طريق الفون أو عن طريق regular interview فبالعادة بيبعتوا لكم إيميل. اللي بيبعت الايميل اما انه البروجرام دايركتور او الكوردينيتور، هدول الاثنين هن ممكن يبعثوا لكم الانترفيو عن طريق الايميل. هلا احسن شيء انه اذا بتستخدموا ايميل، افضل ايميل هو الجيميل والهوت ميل. الياهو تقريبا شوي احيانا بيعمل مشاكل، فاذا حدا عنده جيميل او هوت ميل بيكون افضل. اذا ما بتحسنوا تغيروا مو مشكله، يعني خليكم على نفس الايميل. بس لازم يعني you have to check your email يعني all the time. لازم تشيك على الايميل، يعني ممكن every hour every half an hour you have always to check your email. افضل شيء يكون عندك سمارت فون. السمارت فون بيعطيك نوتيفيكيشن، بيعطيك انه وصلك ايميل مباشره، بترد عليهم مباشره. فلما بتستلم الانترفيو لازم تنتبه على لازم تنتبه على موضوع انه ترد بسرعه مباشره. اذا ما رديت بسرعه مقصود فيها هي خلال ساعه واحده within 1 hour you have to answer them. اذا بتطول اكثر من ساعه ممكن كثير انه بتروح عليك المقابله وبيعطوها لواحد ثاني، لانه في بعض البروجرامات بيكون عندهم مثلا 50 spots وبيبعتوا ايميلز ل 100 people. فبيبعتوا 100 ايميلز ل 50 سبوت. فاول 50 واحد بيجاوبوا وبيردوا عليهم وبيعطوهم السبوت، واللي بيتاخر خلص بتروح عليه بيقولوا له we're gonna put you on the waiting list. بتروح على الويتنج ليست، وهي الويتنج ليست ممكن يعني يجيك مقابله ممكن ما يجيك. وبالتالي اول ما بتستلم الايميل مباشره بترد عليه او بتجاوب. هلا بتختار الوقت. شو هو احسن شيء الوقت للمقابله؟ حسب. هلا اكيد اذا بروجرام ممتاز وسمعته كتير منيحه وانت بدك اياه وهو من التوب اللي عندك، فاكيد ما لازم يكون هو اول او ثاني او ثالث مقابله عندك اياها. اول وثاني وثالث مقابله اللي هي بنوفمبر او بدايه نوفمبر يفضل انك تعملهم للبروجرامات الضعيفه او البروجرامات اللي مانك كثير مهتم فيهم. على الاقل بتروح بتتدرب فيهم شوي، انه بتكسر الحاجز الخوف اللي عندك من موضوع المقابلات. بتعرف شو يعني مقابله، بتفهم شكلها، فبتروح على هيك بروجرامات. اما ما you should not schedule your best interviews at first. شغله ثانيه كمان ما بتحط البيست انترفيوز باخر شيء. يعني اخر شيء قصدي يعني باخر اسبوعين او ثلاثه من جانوري. اخر اسبوعين او ثلاثه من جانوري على الاغلب كمان بيكونوا نسيوك، او عفوا بيكونوا يعني اوريدي يعني هن اختاروا الاشخاص اللي بدهم اياهم. فكمان هاي الموضوع انتبهوا عليه. اختيار الوقت كتير مهم. افضل وقت اذا البروجرام انت مهتم فيه كتير، افضل وقت هو بديسمبر وبدايه جانوري. ديسمبر وبدايه جانوري هي اهم شيء. هلا بيجي عندك انترفيوز اوفرلاب، ممكن بيبعثوا لك ايميل بيقولوا لك والله في عندنا هي المواعيد، فبتشوف انه انت مثلا ما في عندك الا هالموعد، بيقولوا لك ما عندنا الا نوفمبر 15، فانت اوريدي عندك مقابله بنوفمبر 15 بمكان ثاني، فانت بدك تشوف وتختار انه اي هي المقابله هي الافضل، هل هي المقابله هي ولا هي، وبتحاول تقول لهم انه اعطوني خيارات اخرى. اذا ما اعطوك خيارات اخرى فبدك بهاللحظه تقارن اين هو اهم عندك، هل هو المشفى الاول ولا المشفى الثاني. الاهم عندك هو اللي بتعمل فيه سكيدجولينج. ممكن اذا المشفى الثاني اللي اعطاك المقابله هو الاحسن فبتقول لهم اوكي احجزوا لي بهذا المكان بهذا الوقت هذا بدي اياه، فبتصيروا بتصير بترجع للمشفى الاول بتقول له لو سمحت اذا ممكن اغير اعمل ريسكجول للمقابله تبعي. وبدها تصير عمليه يعني مثل النيغوشيشن، يعني مثل البازار، يعني بدك تقول لهم اعطوني موعد ثاني، اذا ما في موعد ثاني فعلى الاغلب you have to cancel one of them، فبدك انت تختار اي هي المقابله الافضل. في احيانا بعض الحالات بيصير عندك انه كتير صعب انك تختار، فبدك تضحي يعني بمقابله لهذا السبب. مشان هيك الافضل انك ترد وتحاول انه تحط فاصل حوالي اعمال مقابلتين بالاسبوع، يعني اذا حدا عنده تقريبا 10 مقابلات، ف يعني 10 مقابلات الى 15 مقابله، مقابلتين كل اسبوع بتكون ممتازه كتير. او مثلا مقابله كل اسبوع، يعني يفضل انك مثلا اذا المقابله بتحسها انه مستوى المشفى مثلا عادي او ضعيف فحاول تحطها بنوفمبر، اذا مستواه كتير ممتاز حطها مثلا بديسمبر، اذا كتير انت انترستد مثلا بحطه باول اسبوع من جانوري او ثاني اسبوع من جانوري، يعني حطه بهذا الترتيب. حاول انك تختار هالخيارات، احيانا ما بيعطوك خيارات فبدك تمشي مع الاوقات اللي اعطوك اياها. الكونفرميشن كثير مهم، اول ما بيبعثوا لك الايميل بيقولوا لك اختار الموعد، فانت بتبعت لهم الموعد، احيانا بيقولوا لك اختار اكثر من موعد، فانت اختار اكثر من موعد، قل لهم بدي هاد او هاد او هاد، يعني هذا بالعكس بيساعدهم، هذا بيشوفهم انه انت كثير انترستد، فبيختاروا اي واحد من بيناتهم. ودائما لازم تحصل على كونفرميشن ايميل، اذا ما اخذت كونفرميشن ايميل معناته ما في عندك انترفيو. كتير ضروري انك تستنى you have to wait for the confirmation email. اذا ما بعثوا لك confirmation email in the same day بعت لهم ايميل للكوردينيتور الا ما وصلني confirmation email I need a confirmation email. كتير ضروري، طبعا ما كتير تبعت له ايميلات بس انه على الاقل بعت له ايميل او احكي مع التليفون الا I need a confirmation email، لانه اذا نسيت وما بعثت لك confirmation email بنفس اليوم او ثاني نهار معناها انت ما she didn't schedule you for the interview, your interview is gone. فالكونفرميشن كتير مهم ولازم تسألوا عنه. how to plan your trip، دائما لما بدك تخطط للرحلة تبعك from home to home، يعني من بيتك وانت رايح على المقابلة وكيف بترجع، كتير ضروري. في عندك طريقتين، يا اما عن طريق التليفون، ممكن عن طريق التليفون انت تحط كل الخطوات عن طريق جوجل مابس، عن طريق مثلا نوتس او جوجل دوكيومنت، بتحط كل المعلومات اللي بدك اياها، او ممكن عن طريق الورقه والدفتر. انا بالنسبه لي كنت اعمل الطريقتين بنفس الوقت، انا عندي البلان تبعي بكتبها على الورقه او على الدفتر، في عندي نوت بوك هذا لكل مقابله، بكتب الخطوات كيف بروح، شو الباص اللي بدي اخذه، لما بوصل على المدينه شو الكونفرميشن تبع الهوتيل، شو الكونفرميشن تبع الباص ستيشن، تبع التيكت، اول ما بوصل شو بدي اخذ. بتحاول انه تكون كل هالمعلومات مسجله عندك اما على ورقه او على الموبايل او انه بمكان بحيث انه ما تضيع، لانه كتير ضروري انه يكون عندك هذا الموضوع ويكون عندك دائما تليفون معك في حال لزمك اي شيء ناقصك. هلا التريب او الترانسبورتيشن، الباسز كتير تشيب، كتير سهله وافيلبل everywhere، يعني جراي هاوند ما شاء الله بيروح على كل مكان بيخطر ببالك. هلا الترين هو مور اكسبنسيف بس طبعا مور كومفورتبل، وفي عندك الفلايتس طبعا مور اكسبنسيف وموست كومفورتبل، فحسب يو هاف تو بلان يور تريب. يعني اذا بدك مقابلتك مثلا الساعه 8 الصبح يوم الاثنين، فالافضل انك تروح الاحد الصبح مثلا، انك حاول انك توصل على المدينه اللي فيها المقابله قبل اكيد قبل 12 ساعه على الاقل، مشان تلحق تنام، مشان تلحق ترتاح، لازم على الاقل يكون في 12 ساعه بين وصولك وبين المقابله ثاني نهار. كمان شغله ثانيه مشان اذا تاخرت الطياره او تاخر الباص يكون في عندك مجال تلحق الموعد. انا دائما كنت بروح يعني دائما بوصل قبل بنهار وبسافر اما بنفس النهار او بسافر بعد بنهار، فبيكون عندك دائما، وانتم يعني ما حدا عنده يعني هلا مشغول بشيء، فيحاول انه ياخذ كل الوقت اللي بيقدر عليه. هلا الشغله كمان ثانيه موضوع الترانسبورتيشن، ممكن يصير في تأخير بوقت آخر ديسمبر وبداية جانوري بالفلايتس، بالتحديد الفلايتس، لأنه في برد ودائما في سنو ستورمز، خصوصا فيلادلفيا، نيويورك، شيكاغو، كليفلاند، هدول دائما فيه سنو ستورمز، فبيوقف. حاول انه تبعدوا عن هدول الاوقات يعني قدر الامكان، خصوصا باخر اسبوع من او اخر اسبوعين من ديسمبر، هي صعبه كثير. انه اما تكون انه مقابله قريبه يعني بنفس المدينه او بمدينه قريبه، فانه اتس اوكي، بس اذا مكان بعيد يفضل انك تبعد، انه ما تحجز بهذاك الوقت. هلا السيتي ترانسبورتيشن دائما اسالوا انه كيف انا ممكن ضمن المدينه، يعني هاو كان اي يعني تيك ا باص، كان اي تيك ا باص، كان اي تيك ا سبواي. ممكن هلا ممكن اذا بدك تستاجر سياره بيكون افضل بس اغلى، او تاكسي مثلا كمان هذا بيكون اغلى. كمان اسالوا، ادخل على الموقع دائما، روح على الويب سايت مثلا تبع شيكاغو، عندهم يمكن اسمه سي تي اي، او مثلا بنيويورك كمان في له اسم ثاني. بكل مدينه كبيره دائما في سيتي ترانسبورتيشن. الويب سايت انا دائما بستخدم جوجل دوكيمنت. انا هيك كنت بعمل المقابلات تبعه، وكل الشباب، اكثر الشباب هلا اللي عم يستخدموا جوجل دوكيمنت. كل الدوكيمنت اللي بتلزمك بالماتش سكاند، كلهم بتعملهم على سكانر وبتحطهم بالجوجل دوكيمنت، بحيث انه بتاخذ كل المعلومات اللي بدك اياها مباشره من اي مكان وباي وقت. بتوفر عليك وقت، وبتوفر عليك ستريس، وبتوفر عليك كثير مشاكل في حال لا سمح الله صارت. المواقع اللي بنصح فيها مشان تشتركوا، مشان تاخذ هوتيل او مشان الترانسبورتيشن، هو برايس لاين واكسبيديا. برايس لاين على الاغلب ارخص، وبلان ايرلي، يعني من اول لحظه انت you scheduled your interview مباشره you have to book the hotel, you have to book your bus ticket او your flight ticket immediately. ما تستنى قبل باسبوع او قبل اسبوعين، لانه يمكن ما يضل في تيكتس، وعلى الاغلب ما راح يضل في تيكتس. فدائما باللحظه اللي تاخذ فيها confirmation من الكوردينيتور مباشره you have to plan your trip within 1 or 2 days. you have to take care of that immediately. الاكوموديشن دائما حاول تسال اذا في عندك اصدقاء بنفس المدينه، حاول تقعد معهم، بس ما تقعدوا تتسلوا وتضيعوا وقت وبالاخير تروح عليك المقابله، او تسهروا سهره قبل يوم المقابله وتلعبوا طرنيب وما بعرف شو، بالاخير والله ثاني نهار الصبح يعني نعسان ونايم بالمقابله. اكيد لا. فستي with your friends لانه هذا for free. او اذا بتعرف حدا دائما book your hotel early، لانه كمان قبل بفتره بيكون ارخص. كمان لازم تحسب المسافه بين الباص ستيشن او الهوتيل، ومن الهوتيل للمشفى، يعني هي المسافه كثير مهمه. حاول انه تكون المسافه الاوتيل مثلا هي اقرب للمشفى، هي بتكون اقرب للمشفى منها للباص ستيشن او للايربورت، لانه انت بيهمك انك توصل للمقابله بكير. بس مو ضروري انه والله بعدين، يعني بعد ما بتخلص المقابله مو مشكله، يعني اذا تاخرت الطياره او اذا تاخرت الباص تبعك، يعني بعد ما تخلص المقابله اهم شيء هي المقابله. فاهم شيء انه يكون الاوتيل قريب من المشفى، مو الاوتيل قريب من المطار، بالعكس. اهم شيء انك تروح على المقابله بالوقت المناسب. هلا البيدنج على برايس لاين انا كثير بنصح فيه انك تعمل بيدنج يعني مثل المراهنه، او انه مو مراهنه، يعني هي موضوع انه انت بتحط سعر للغرفه، للغرفه، وهو بيقول لك انه ايه اخذت المبلغ او لا. يعني مثلا الاسعار لنفرض انه الاوتيل بيقول لك $100 بالليله، فانت بتقول له بيدنج بدي اعمل بيدنج على $80 مثلا، فممكن يقبل لك اياها ل $80 ايه، وبيعطيك اوتيل كمان منيح، وبيعطيك المنطقه اللي بدك اياها. فكتير مفيد هذا موضوع البيدنج على برايس لاين. ودائما شيك على بكل اوتيل انه شو هي الخدمات اللي بيعطيك اياها، بيعطيك فري انترنت ولا مصاري ولا ببلاش، الباركينج اذا عندك سياره، البريكفاست اذا بيهمك هذا الموضوع، في شاتل بين الايربورت والهوتيل ولا ما في، في شاتل بين الباص ستيشن والهوتيل ولا ما في، او ممكن احيانا في شاتل بياخذك من الاوتيل للمشفى. في بعضهم انا هيك رحت عليهم بعض المقابلات انه في شاتل خاص بياخذك، لانه بيعرفوا انه في ناس جايين على المقابله، فبياخذوهم من الاوتيل للهوسبيتال. know your program كتير ضروري. do your homework. your homework انه لازم تعرف كل التفاصيل عن المشفى. ما بيصير تروح على المقابله وانت ما عندك هي المعلومات اللي هي كم بوزيشن عنده، وكمان اللي اهم من هيك مو كم بوزيشن، لنفرض عنده 20 بوزيشن بس ما بيعطي الا لاثنين اي ام جي، وبالتالي انت عم بتنافس على بوزيشنين بس 2 اي ام جي بوزيشنز. فهذا المشفى صحيح عنده 20 بوزيشن بس مو هي ال 20 بوزيشن هي اللي بتهمك، انت عم بتنافس على اثنين بس لانه ما بيعطي الا الاثنين اي ام جي. بالعكس مثلا في مشافي 20 بوزيشن بيعطوا 18 للاي ام جي، وبالتالي انت هون فرصتك اقوى بهذا البروجرام. لازم تعرف هذا الموضوع. لازم تعرف اتس تايب، هل هو يونيفرسيتي بيزد ولا كوميونتي، شو انواع الفيلوشيب اللي عندهم، شو انواع الريسيرش اللي بيعملوها. لازم تعرف مين هن الريزيدنت الموجودين، في منهم سوريين في منهم عرب، شو انتماءاتهم. اذا بتعرف حدا تحاول تتواصل معه، او اذا حدا مثلا بيقول لك ايه والله بعرف حدا بهذا المشفى، بتحاولوا بتتواصل معه مباشره باللحظه اللي بتاخذ فيها المقابله. مباشره بتبلش بتحكي مع الريزيدنت اللي بتعرفهم بهذا البروجرام، بتقول لهم انا اخذت انترفيو، يلا احكوا لي عن البروجرام، اعطوني كل الديتيلز. ودائما بتسالهم عن شغلتين، شو الشغلات اللي بتحبها بالبروجرام وشو الشغلات اللي بتكرهها بالبروجرام. هدول كتير شغلتين مهمه بتسال فيها الناس رفقاتك يعني بالبروجرام، رفقاتك اللي موجودين بالبروجرام. كمان بتطلع على السيتي هل هي صغيره كبيره، شو موضوع السيفتي فيها. ممكن في اماكن بديترويت صراحه يعني السيفتي معدومه، يعني في ناس مثلا ريزيدنتس بينقتلوا مثلا، او بنيويورك يعني they may get killed. فكمان تنتبهوا على هذا الموضوع. الترانسبورتيشن، هل الروحه ورجعه على المشفى سهله، شو اذا في ايربورت، شو موضوع الكوميونتي، في سوريين ولا ما في. دائما اسال ريزيدنت، او وانتم لما بتشتغلوا كجروب، هلا انتم قاعدين هلا بجروب وبتاخذوا مقابلات، واحد راح على مقابله بيحاول يحكي للباقي انه انا رحت على المقابله وهي التفاصيل اللي صارت معي وهي المعلومات اللي صارت معي. كثير بتفيد اللي بعدك. وما تقول انه والله انا والله عم بقدم خدمه للاخرين، لا، انت بكره راح تحتاج، انت كمان بدك تروح على مقابله ثانيه، وكمان راح تسال الاشخاص الاخرين وهن كمان لازم يساعدوك. فانتم لازم تشتغلوا بهذا الشكل، بهالطريقه انتم كلياتكم بتصيروا بتعرفوا شو what to expect regarding questions او regarding the hospital mentality، او انه هذا البروجرام دايركتور كيف بيفكر. هي كل هالمعلومات ما راح تاخذوها من الويب سايت او من اي مكان، راح تاخذوها من واحد عمل مقابله قبل بوقت. الويب سايت اللي لازم تعتمدوا عليها، طبعا البروجرام ويب سايت بيعطيكم معلومات ولازم تعرفوا كل شيء موجود فيه، لانه يفضل انه تكونوا فهمانين انتم رايحين على شو هذا البروجرام، شو وضعه، هل هو فيه ريسيرش اكثر ولا لا، فيه فيلوشيب اكثر ولا لا، فيه هو كوميونتي اكثر. في موقعين كتير مهمة، هي اليو سيميلي فورم. أنا هذا كتير كنت بستخدمه، يو سيميلي فورم. هذا كنت أول ما أخذ مقابلة فورم بدخل على يو سيميلي فورم وبعمل سيرش للمشفى، فبتلاقي الهنود او الباكستانيين حاطين المعلومات المقابله اللي عملوها. مثلا انا اجتني مقابله بمشفى معين، بحط اسم المشفى، بلاقي 2 3 كاتبين their experience، بيكتبوا خبرتهم او المعلومات اللي صارت معهم خلال المقابله. فبعرف انا لما بروح لهنيك عندي انا تصور ببالي انه شو راح يصير. كتير مفيد هذا اليو سيميلي فورم وسكات وورك، هدول الموقعين كتير مفيدين. ماتش ريزيدنت وريزيدنس بليس هدول بيساعدوك مشان تختار تو سيلكت يور بروجرامز، بس ما بيساعدوا كتير بعد الانترفيو. know yourself مثل ما قال الدكتور شادي، كتير مهم انك تعرف شو مكتوب بالسي في تبعك. ما تروح وانت والله نسيان شو هي مشروع التخرج تبعك مشروع التخرج تبعك بالكليه، وبيسالوك عنه وبتقول لهم ها والله ما بعرف، نسيان، او مثلا بيسالوك عن ريسيرش على اساس انت عامله وبتقول لهم والله ما بعرف. لا، لازم تكون عندك كل هالامور هي حافظها، ويكون عندك answers. you have to prepare your questions and you have to prepare your answers. شغلتين كتير مهمه. كمان مثل ما قلنا دائما يكون عندك digital and paper copies لبعض الدوكيومنت للسي في، كتير ضروري تاخذها معك انت على المقابله السي في تبعك، لانه احيانا بيسالوك، وانا سالوني من قبل انه ممكن تعطينا السي في اذا انت عندك ريسيرش وانت مانك حاطه على الابلكيشن تبعك. كمان ممكن تقول لهم انه هاي اوراق من الريسيرش تبعي، هي ممكن تدعم الابلكيشن تبعك، او الستيب 3 سكورز اذا والله ما بيعرفوا هن شو علامتك بتاخذها معك. ممكن الماك انترفيوز كتير مهمة، هي اللي راح تعملوها اليوم إن شاء الله بشيكاغو، ديترويت، كليفلاند، هي كتير مفيدة. بس هذا ما لازم يكون المرة الأخيرة اللي بتعملوا فيها ماك انترفيوز. انتوا رفقاتكم لازم دائما تحاولوا دائما تعملوا ماك انترفيوز، ما توقفوا أبدا. تحاولوا دائما كل يوم يومين كل أسبوع مثلا تقعدوا مع بعض وتحاولوا تعملوا هاي الماك انترفيوز بشكل متواصل، لبين ما توصلوا لمرحلة إنه بعد 4-5 مقابلات بتحسوا حالكم مرتاحين فبتروحوا للمقابلة. you don't need any mock interviews لأنه already يعني you experienced the real life. يوتيوب، الناس اللي عم يسمعونا هلا وما لهم بالبراكتيكال سيشنز بشيكاغو، كليفلاند او ديترويت، انا بنصحهم باليوتيوب. تروح على اليوتيوب، في عندهم كتير فيديوهات انا تعلمت منهم، فيها انترفيو سكيلز، فيها كوميونيكيشن سكيلز اتعلم منهم، خصوصا الميديكال بارت مش البزنس، الميديكال غير البزنس. انترفيو داي كيف بيصير النهار، حكوا عنه طبعا حكوا عنه طبعا من قبل. الموضوع طبعا في الدينر، احيانا انا هذا ما حكى عنه، موضوع الدينر قبل بالنهار هذا بيكون على الاغلب، او بنفس اليوم المقابله بيكون بالليل. فاذا صار فهو على الاغلب لازم تكون محضر حالك، تكون بتعرف مكان المطعم، تكون بتعرف شو الاكلات الموجوده فيه، حاول انك تطلع على المنيو وشوف المنيو شو فيه، مشان تحاول تختار بسرعه، ما تتلبك لما بتوصل وبتقول لهم ها بعرف وما بعرف. بعدين دائما درس كاجوال، مو ضروري تروح بطقم وجرافي ودريست اب، لا يعني على الاغلب كاجوال عادي، يعني كمان ما انه كثير كاجوال، يعني افريج. حاول ما كثير تمزح، حاول ما كثير اذا حدا بيشرب او يدخن، لانه هدول مانن يعني it's considered bad habits يعني، فالافضل انك ما تشوفهم اياها. نو جوكس يعني قصدي مو انه ما تمزح معهم، امزح معهم بس انه ما تقعد تضحك عليهم، يعني هن الريزيدنت، انه حاول تاخذ وتعطي معهم بطريقه لطيفه، حاول انه تكون القعده لطيفه، خصوصا اذا كان في فاكولتي. اذا كان في فاكولتي او اتندنج كثير، معناته العشاء لازم يكون مو ضروري انه يعني انه you have to dress up، لا مو ضروري، لانه هو he's not gonna dress up يعني for the dinner على الاغلب. بس انت حاول انك تكون مور فورمال معه، ما كثير تكون هيك يعني تاخذ وتعطي معه مثل كانه هو رفيقك، لا يعني حاول تاخذ وتعطي معه بطريقه فورمال، وبصير بيعرفك وبيشوفوا انه انت ايزي جوينج. يعني هذا هو المطلوب منه الدينر، انه بيعرفوا انه انت انسان ايزي جوينج، انت انسان خرج انه ينعاش معه. سليب ويل، حاول تنام منيح 7-8 ساعات، وصل دائما 15 دقيقه قبل موعد المقابله، واذا ما بتحسن توصل قبل 15 بليز 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 don't be late. يعني كتير bad sign if you are late, it's very bad sign. على الأغلب راح يصير في interviews، بعدين morning report، بعدين tour، بعدين lunch. هلا هذا هو الترتيب اللي راح يصير، مو دائما، احيانا بيصير بالمخربط، ممكن اول شيء المورنينج ريبورت بعدين الانترفيوز، كل واحد شكل. ف هذا الترتيب مو دائما هو المتبع. ask the right question to the right person. كتير ضروري انك تعرف شو الاسئله اللي بتحكيها للبروجرام دايركتور، وشو الاسئله اللي بتحكيها للاتندنج، او شو الاسئله اللي بتحكيها للريزيدنت. لازم تقسم الكويستشنز، you have to divide your questions between resident, attendings and program director. بعدين احكي مع اكبر عدد ممكن من الريزيدنت. ليش؟ لانه اول شغله مشان تعرف اكثر عن البروجرام، كمان مشان تسالهم ار يو هابي، يعني حاول ان تفهم منهم انه هن مبسوطين بالبروجرام ولا لا، مشان تعرف انت وين جاي، بلكي انه هن مو مبسوطين. كمان ask them about anything you want، يعني ما في مشكله طالما انه انت ضمن حدود ضمن حدود الادب وضمن حدود التعامل السليم. جراند راوندز احيانا they offer you انه if you can stay one more hour maybe you can come to our grand round. كتير ضروري انك تحضرها. most of the time it's optional، بس اذا انت ما عندك شيء وانت قاعد راح تضل قاعد بالمدينه او طيارتك بعد فتره طويله، الافضل انك تحضر الجراند راوندز مشانك ومشانهم، مشانك انت، مشان تعرف انت شو مستواهم بالجراند راوندز. هل هو مستواهم عالي بيحكوا عن مواضيع ريسيرش ومواضيع جديده، ولا موضوع جراند راوندز راح يكون عن موضوع مطروق من قبل ولا لا. كمان انه مشان هن بيشوفوا انه والله انت انترستد، انت والله قعدت لك ساعه زياده ساعتين زياده وهي اوبشنال، كمان انت بتقعد لك ساعه ساعتين زياده هي كمان بيشوفوه نقطه ايجابيه. ساين اوت، يعني لما بتخلص انت الانترفيو داي دائما سلم على الكل اللي بتشوفه بطريقك، سلم عليه، سلم على الابليكانتس الثانيين، وخلي الكوردينيتور والبقيه يشوفوا انه انت زلمه يعني ايزي جوينج مع الكل، انه انت مالك والله بس easy going او انت حباب او you are smiley only with the interviewers. لا، you are easy going, you are smiley, you are happy with everybody. فحتى مع الابليكانت سلم عليهم goodbye. ودائما دائما دائما don't forget the coordinator. The coordinator is the key. هي اللي مباشرة بتحكي للبروجرام دايركتور انه هذا الزلمة حبيته وهذا ما حبيته. يعني اذا قالت عن شخص هذا ما حبيته او هذا عليه مشكله، خلص يعني الانترفيو ما ضل له قيمه ابدا. مهما انه انت عملت منيح، اذا الكوردينيتور هي ما هي مبسوطه منك، فحاول always try to please and try to make the coordinator happy. كثير ضروري هذا الموضوع and the coordinator is the key. following up، بعد ما عملت المقابله شو لازم تعمل؟ حكى عنها طبعا الدكتور شادي والدكتور رامي. راح احكيها على السريع. ثانك يو ليتر، انا بفضل انه تبعت الثانك يو ليتر within 48 hours. You should do that. Thank you letter should include personal discussions. اذا شغلات personal حكيتوها انتم بالمقابله بتحكي عنها، make sure انه it's not a cliché. make sure انه ما عم تحكي انت general thank you letter. لا، كل attending انت قابلته بتبعت له thank you letter specified for this person. ما تحكي، ما تبعت لهم للكل the same thank you letter. لا يفضل هذا الشيء. holidays card، انا بالنسبه لي انا عملتها بعد ما عملت المقابلات اللي هي قبل راس السنه. لما اجى وقت راس السنه الهوليديز، انا بعثت كاردز لكل المشافي اللي عملت معهم مقابلات، وقلت لهم يعني ثانك يو ثانك يو. عم يقولوا لي انه عندي 10 دقائق. طيب انا يعني ما حكيت شيء لسه. طيب باقي لي 2 سلايدز. هوليديز كاردز، دائما لما بتبعت هوليديز كاردز او جريتنجز يعني ابعت هابي هوليديز. ما تبعت مثلا هابي نيو يير او مثلا ميري كريسمس، لانه ممكن يكون هو يهودي وانت عم تبعت له ميري كريسمس، فذيس از ان اوفنس. فميك شور انه you send them happy holidays. happy holidays it's okay, happy new year it's okay. بس ميري كريسمس او هاكونا او ما بعرف يعني اليهود شو عندهم، هي الحاول ما تبعتها. سكند لوك كثير مهمه انك تعمل سكند لوك، ما تعملها للكل، بتعملها للتوب 3 عندك. التوب 3 عندك مثل ما قلنا احسن بروجرامات انت بتحطهم بديسمبر، وبتروح بجانوري بتقول لهم I need a second look. بتبعت لهم قبل اسبوعين او 3 اسابيع بتقول لهم I want a second look. second look كثير effective, very effective in يعني most of the programs. some programs ما بيحبوا هذا الشيء، ما بيحبوا second look. بس اذا في بروجرامات انت كثير مهتم فيهم قل لهم I want a second look، وهن راح يرحبوا فيك. they will tell you we are very happy to have you، واهلا وسهلا تعال. وعلى الاغلب you're gonna match in those places، لانه بيعرفوا if you have a second look that means that you're gonna rank them high. rank order list، how you're gonna rank your order list، هذا كله بيعتمد على انت شو البرايورتيز تبعك. الست نقاط الاساسيه اللي انا بفضلهم دائما you have to look at them هي شو الفيزا، the visa they offer، هل بيعطوا J1 ولا H1، الفيلوشيبس اللي عندهم، السيتي if you like the city, if you don't، شو نوعية الريسيرش اللي عندهم، do they have a lot of research, average, no research، IMG friendly، حبابين بيحبوا الاي ام جيز ولا ما بيحبوا الاي ام جيز. كمان هي شغله مهمه، ما بدك تروح على program malignant يعني they don't like IMGs، ف if you get matched there then maybe they will kick you out، او مثلا they will make trouble for you because you are the only IMG. كمان بدك تعرف هذا الموضوع. فاذا بيحبوا الاي ام جيز وفي عندهم كميه منيحه من الاي ام جيز so it's okay. workload، هذا يعني I think it's the last thing you should ask about، بس this is something to ask about. انه شو بيشغلوكم، بتسال الريزيدنت هذا السؤال، شو الشغل، شغل خفيف، شغل خفيف ولا شغل صعب ولا شغل سهل، يعني شو ساعات الدوام، السكجول، الكول سكجول. فانت when you rank your order list دائما rank order list بتحاول you have to focus on these things and prioritize things based on what you feel, what you think it's most important to you. Don't ask anybody else, ask yourself. يعني اقعد انت وحالك وانت think about it. حط you have to submit your rank order list 1 week before, and then that's it. Don't open the NRMP website anymore. لأنه once you open it, you may do a mistake, you may change it, you may go into trouble. So make sure you don't open it anymore. You do it a week before, and that's it. You are done. مات كتير general rules. Always be positive and always think positive. كتير ضروري. Get the experience from other people and give it to anybody else. Is very important. Work in groups. That's going to help you guys a lot. That's going to help you not to waste time, not to waste efforts. Always smile and smile appropriately. يعني smile in the time that you have to smile, and don't smile in the time that you should not smile. Always smile appropriately. Don't act smart and don't be arrogant. يعني you are not the smartest person there. For sure, they have seen smarter than you, and they have seen a lot of people with different IQs. You are not the smartest person on earth. Don't act smart. It's very important, and don't show arrogance at all. Be yourself and be professional. Very important. You guys لما انتوا بلشتوا بالماتش لما بلشتوا when you studied for the USMLEs, that was 2 years ago. You were actually hundreds. You were hundreds, maybe 1,000 people, and all of them they go through the race. هذا طبعا ال 5K اليوم كان في عنا 5K. At the end you're gonna reach the finish line. Whoever is gonna reach the finish line, you are actually very close to the finish line. Inshallah, in a few months you're gonna reach the finish line on the match day. Inshallah. On March 15th. فيو are very close إن شاء الله. وأنتوا يعني من القلائل اللي وصلوا لهي المرحلة. So work harder. Don't work less than you're supposed to. وإن شاء الله good luck for everybody. Thank you so much for listening. I'm going to start reading the questions. I know I have a lot of them. راح بلش بالإجابة على الأسئلة. طيب can you summarize the main. راح أخلي الدكتور شادي كمان يساعدني بالإجابة. So دكتور شادي I'm gonna unmute you. ألو دكتور شادي. إيه عم تسمعني دكتور شادي؟ طيب السؤال بيقول can you summarize the main checklist points the interviewer goes through. طبعا ال interviewer always want to make sure إنه في كثير نقاط to be covered. طبعا دائما الشغلات اللي بيركزوا عليها هي attitude. They will يعني they will check your attitude, enthusiasm, communication skills. ودائما بيعطوا شيء اسمه overall impression اللي هو لازم ناخده ولا it's okay average ولا لا لازم ما ناخده هذا الشخص وليش. What's the reason behind it. سؤال ثاني what questions would the program director like to be asked. دكتور شادي.
نعم هتسمعني.
Yeah, what questions would the program director like to be asked.
Yeah, again, if you have a question, you don't have to ask questions. If you have questions, ask. If you don't have questions, don't ask. They will ask you at the end. بهاي polite يعني إنه كل واحد يقول لك do you have any questions. If you have questions, say, I need to know this and that. If you say, or if you don't say, actually you guys have done a good job and you explained everything from the presentation and I really got all my questions answered. If I think of anything, I'll shoot you an email. Totally fine. But you always, you want to ask one or two questions. So asking about their fellowship placements, ask about different rotations, what they do. If you like their outpatients experience, ask about that. So just general thing. Again, there is no right or wrong way to answer this.
كمان سؤال could being head scarfed يعني بنت محجبة affect getting interviews or match given your CV is good.
Well, I think they saw isn't there a picture but شو اسمه ولا they can't see it. No, I think and as far as I remember they don't see it until they send you the invitation. فأنا صراحة I don't see this as a problem. يعني we overthink, but here the society is more open. And يعني بتعامل مع مجتمع طبي because I don't think it's a big deal.
طيب
يعني if you're محجبة بدك تضلي محجبة ودك you have to deal with it يعني.
طيب عندي صراحة 20 سؤال صراحة فبدنا نمشي فيهم على السريع. عم بيقول I did observership بميشيغان عفوا in internal medicine and pediatrics. If they ask why what did you learn from these experiences? Shall I mention the cases that I saw or talk in general?
You want me to answer? Yeah, just general talk. Yeah.
طيب كمان سؤال what do you think about doctors who leave their underdeveloped countries and come to the US brain immigration?
So if somebody asks you why you're coming here, yeah, you can always say, I came here for better training, better opportunities, better future for my. If you're saying that you want to stay here in the United States, there is nothing wrong about this. كل المجتمع اللي هون they're immigrants. But you can say, I came here for better opportunity for myself and for my family, for my kids. And especially now you have strong executives, what's going on in the area. Syria, there's a war, and the whole Middle East region is unstable. There's a lot of good reason why you want to get out of Syria.
So do you think programs would still send invitations for interview after October or it's almost over? طبعا اكيد بيبعتوا بعد اكتوبر اكيد لانه بيصير عندهم cancellations خصوصا بنوفمبر وديسمبر. هلا كثير ضروري اذا الواحد ما اخذ اي مقابله بعد اكتوبر او وقفت المقابلات بعد اكتوبر فالافضل انه you have to follow up with them. يعني call them by the phone, send them an email, show up. يعني روح على البروجرام نفسه اذا انت عايش بمدينه مثلا مثل شيكاغو او نيويورك وانت قدمت على البروجرامات روح على عندهم على المشفى قل لهم انه انا جاهز for interview, I'm very interested in the program and I live here, I'm staying here, I would like to get an interview. كتير بفيد. او مثلا ابعت لهم ايميل. انا بصراحه يعني through emails I sent 40 emails. صراحه I got two interviews extra. It's worth it. يعني it's worth it to send a lot of emails and to do a lot of phone calls. I showed up to 4 programs. I got 1 interview in one of them. If you do more work, of course, you're going to get more interviews. طيب, is it okay to mention that one of my weaknesses is performing procedures or I will look bad? هلا performing procedures it depends. هلا إذا الواحد عم بيقدم على جراحة فأكيد يعني that's wrong. يعني الواحد بيقدم على جراحة you should not say that. بس هلا إذا مقدم على internal medicine ممكن إنه بيقول واحد ما بيقول واحد عن الويكنس تبعه إنه والله هو he's weak in that thing. لا بيقول I'm working on it, I'm improving myself, I'm trying to get better. فهذا هو المطلوب وهذا هو المهم بالموضوع الويكنس. مو الموضوع انه الواحد عنده weakness so it's going to stay as a weakness forever. لا, انه I have a weakness but I'm working on it, I'm doing more things to make it better. If we haven't received any interview by end of October, do you think we should contact them? We did this. What if they give you 2 dates and both of them are in late January? It means that they are not interested in you. لا أكيد لا. هذا معناه انه هن عطوا المقابلات تبعهم للامريكان لانه دائما البروجرامات بتبعت المقابلات اول شيء للامريكان بعدين بتبعت للكاريبيانز وبعدين اخر شيء بتبعت للاي ام جيز. فهن بيكونوا عبوا السبوتس كلياتها وما ضل عندهم الا جانوري. it doesn't mean that they are not interested in you. I did my interview by January 15th and that was the only option I had. I got matched in where I did يعني University.
Yeah, I want to mention something. يعني guys don't focus on the little things. يعني والله بعتوا لي مقابلة بديسمبر ولا بجانيوري ولا مقابلتي بمارش ولا. This is something you cannot change. What you have to do is you got the interview. شكر ربك الحمد لله جاني مقابلة. Go and do your best. That's all what you can do. You can't change the date. You can't do anything. So just go. Don't waste your time. This is waste of your energy, of your thinking. Again, just Muhammad Ma'al. I matched in a program. I interviewed. نسيت هلا آخر شيء كانوا بمارش ولا إمتى آخر شيء. I don't know. Last day of interview. Yeah, 6 February يمكن. And I matched. It doesn't matter يعني. And don't waste your effort and energy thinking about these little things.
كمان سؤال when I should ask for a second look. You have to ask for it at the يعني beginning of January. يعني بداية January the first week ask for it so you can go there in the second week or third week. What's a second look? Second look means you go يعني أنت بتروح مرة تانية للمشفى وبتقول لهم بدي أشوفكم مرة تانية. هي معناتها second look، يعني أنا بدي أشوفكم مرة تانية معناتها أنا كتير interested فيكم وحابب إني أشوفكم مرة تانية وحابب إنه just to see more and talk to you more about everything. What should I do during the second look? ضروري انك تروح هناك. You see more people, try to talk to more attendings, show them that you are very interested, show them that you are there. If you have the chance to talk to the program director, then go ahead and do it. If you don't have the chance, that's fine. At least talk to the coordinator. She will be there. So talk to her, talk to everybody, and show them that you are very interested. That's what you have to do. How important the dinner is very important. What if we can't make it? You have to make it. You have to make it. You have to do your best to make it. If you can't, then you can't. What can you do? But you have to do all your best to make it. Is it totally negative point or destroying point if I don't speak so good fluent spoken English as you have just done within this webinar? Well, yeah. Yeah, I'm not that fluent actually in English. That's why I spoke in Arabic. Alhamdulillah, يعني إن شاء الله I'm fluent in Arabic too. بس I think إنه لازم موضوع الإنجليش إنه you have to know what you are talking about. If you know what you're talking about, then it's fine. بس ما إنه بتحكي حكي هيك جمل داخلة ببعضها. Even if you speak slow, then it's okay. Speak slow, but don't don't mix things. I got two choices for dinner same day of interview or 3 days after, which is better? لا, before يعني. If you do it before the interview or the same day of the interview هذا هو الأفضل إنه بنفس النهار. كمان if I got interview program director asking to contact the coordinator, should I send thank you letters? You should send a thank you letter for everybody. للcoordinator أول شيء، للprogram director، لبقية الاتندنجز اللي عملوا لك الانترفيو. أنا كانت أحيانا حتى I was sending a thank you letter to the program director that I didn't see. يعني حتى إذا ما شفت للprogram director ببعث له thank you letter بس بقول له إنه I didn't have the chance to meet you، بس يعني إن شاء الله يعني إنه I hope إنه I will see you later، إنه I will catch up with you أو إنه something، يعني just say it in a professional way. Can we send the emails now or after October if we didn't hear from them? الأفضل إنك تبعت للكوردينيتور، بعت للكوردينيتور not to the program director. حاول تبعتهم يعني حوالي mid November start to send the emails. And that's it. I have no more questions. شكرا كثير لكم والله يعطيكم العافية. طيب هيك بننهي مشان يعملوا الماك انترفيوز بشيكاغو وكليفلاند وديترويت. شكرا كثير للجميع. شكرا كثير دكتور شادي، شكرا للدكتور رامي، شكرا للقائمين على الوركشوب. بترككم إن شاء الله بخير وموفقين يا رب thank you so much. وبهيك بننهي لقائنا اليوم والسلام عليكم.